It's Friday night. It's 11 Eastern time. Backstage, I was just talking about how this is a rudderless ship and our guests need to be very careful. And I started the video without even starting the broadcast. So I don't know how much of
Nice.
Honest and truthful and sincere to our guests. Good luck tonight because that's how we're going. I'm Kevin. This is Will. Will, how are you, buddy?
Doing all right, man. How you doing?
And tonight we have Ashley and Dora. Let's start on the left of my screen, Dora. If you were at a comic convention and somebody walked past your table, how would you get them excited about Nine Crows in 15 steps or less?
I wouldn't. I tank this. I'm terrible at this. I just tried to do this something a couple days ago. It's bad, but
it's so okay. This isn't live. Don't worry about it. We edit this together. You can just do this like 19 times. No,
perfect. All right, great. So it's like it's a psychological horror kind of thing. That's how I like to describe it. It's about a teenage girl who moves to a small town in the middle of nowhere with her single mom, and there doesn't seem to be any particular reason they've moved there. They don't know anyone. She doesn't know why they're there, and she starts sort of slowly unraveling the mysteries of, why girls have gone missing in this town and why she doesn't see any young people around. And so she starts unraveling the mystery of this place.
Psychological horror with a mystery event. All right, I'm in.
Yeah. I noticed a reviewer the other day wrote that it was like a quality made for TV psychological thriller. And I'm like, I'll take it. Quality made for TV movies. I love those. That's perfect.
I'll take it. We've been watching some Paramount TV made for TV movies from the 80s, like Call Girls. They're awesome. They're really awesome.
MTV's classic Two of Us, starring Jared Harris as John Lennon.
Okay.
Available in 36 parts on YouTube.
That is a new one. I'm going to rewatch this.
I'm going to write that one down.
It's high key. Like, if you're a Beatles person, it's very good.
Okay. All right.
It really is.
So, Ashley, the same question. How would you get somebody interested in Aurora and the Eagle if all you had was 9 steps to do it?
Well, if you were at a convention, I'd probably start with, hey, and I went to theater school. So I'm very loud and I'm a triple Aries. So you're going to notice me. But after that, and after I physically stopped you on the floor because we're post-COVID now, apparently, and I can touch everybody, I would say that Aurora and the Eagle is a superhero retelling of my immigration journey coming from Canada to the United States. And it examines the intersection of identity and superheroes. It stars Aurora Borealis, who it might shock you has the power of the Northern Lights, coming to the States to train with the Eagle, the toughest American superhero with no superpowers, because I love Robin more than any other superhero in the world, and that's a big influence on my book.
All right, that is awesome. Now we are going to be joined by Danny from the Collective in Altamont Springs, just outside of Orlando. So before he gets here, I'm going to tell everybody the next time you go visit Mickey, make time to visit the Collective because it is an amazing comic shop on its own, super cool with indies and indie creators. Danny had a little bit of a camera problem. I'm just now being told that the date is wrong on this show, so that sounds about right for us. I'm saying March 15th. So we have 10 days to get this right. As we said, it's not live. We're editing all this just because Jolly Perubate says wrong date too. You sir get a Stan Lee no prize for calling that out. I don't even know how that's up there. Well, while we're gonna look, and Will, if you could keep looking for Danny and get him in when he can pop back in. Let's go into psychological horror this evening.
Danny's here.
I will pick up 9 Crow, and we're going to go through the page. Yay. Oh, great. Danny is in. So, Danny, we're really throwing you into the fire. 30 seconds are left. Tales of the Collective, drink, and go.
All right. So, Tales of the Collective is a anthology, second anthology we've done. But what it does special is it brings 5 independent creative teams that we have on our shelf on the store in what we call the collective initiative section, which are all Kickstarters. And these guys are all bringing either first-time stories that they haven't put on our shelves before, or untold stories like ash cans or zero issues of books they already have on our shelves. So it's either an introduction or a reintroduction or more content for our customers that have loved our Kickstarter creators. So it's a really unique opportunity for us.
That is awesome. I already gave a little bit of a shout out to the store. So definitely before we get out, we need addresses and home phone numbers. When I said addresses, I mean
We
your
recently
home.
got our web store like bumping, so all of our
Oh.
Scout exclusive covers are on there now. Like we're working on David Byrne's Canceled moving forward and Jonathan Hedrick's Recount preamble, but we have Steak and Chit Show and a few others on there as well because we love Scout Comics.
We just because I have a toe into Scout doesn't mean I don't appreciate it just as a regular indie creator. But thank you for backing any indie creator, because we need more local comic shops to give us a shot. And usually when the shops give us a shot, they can, sell a couple books from us. But that's a very selfish advertisement for me to put out there.
Always. I mean, it works, man. It works. We actually have Gerald. I just saw Gerald in the comments. We backed his Kickstarter. That's coming on the shelf soon. So we are excited, man. It's really cool to work with so many people. I know we've had you in the store signing, and it's kind of cool to collaborate this way.
No, it's absolutely cool. All right, so I'm going to pull up 9 Crow, and we are going to check this baby out. Psychological horror, mystery, 160-page tome.
It's going to be a tome.
So where was the first idea for this story? What inspired this story to you?
Well, I grew up in and around creepy little towns in the woods, and so that's just kind of in the background of a lot of my stories, is just like mountain towns in the middle of nowhere, and love my hometown, but there's weird characters around here kicking around, so I just always have that in the back of my mind. Where I grew up feels like a place where there's probably secret stuff going on in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of always percolating in the back of my mind. And then I, on a drive one time, happened to see this weird, rows and rows of lights through the trees, driving through the woods in the dark. And it was just the weirdest image, and it stuck with me. And so that plays a part in here too, where she starts seeing these lights up on the hills in the woods, and starts trying to figure out what's going on with that. So, and I just love black and white artwork. I'm really inspired by Edward Gorey, and Richard Sala is another favorite of mine. So so
I'm feeling a little Adams Family vibe to the drawings.
Oh my God. Yeah. My dad gave me Charles Adams books when I was just little bitty, and just totally warped my brain.
Oh, in the best way. That's awesome.
So
so
you're the writer and illustrator. Do you also do the lettering, and do you just do everything? Wow.
I do everything. It's a one-woman show.
So when you're at the show, I'm going to help you out, because I don't think you did the theater thing. You just, when someone walks by, you just go, "Hey," which was really good. Ashley has it right. You start with A.
Okay.
Point down. You go, "I did all this shit."
Exactly.
Just see what happens. I have to go, "I wrote it, and it's pretty because other people made it pretty," but you.
Doing the whole thing, doing the package deal is kind of, I don't know. It's taken me a while to realize, okay, you know what? I'm a writer and an artist. I've spent my whole career kind of seesawing back and forth, going, no, I'm good at writing and I trash at art. Now I'm trash at writing, I'm good at art, and just kind of not making up my mind. And then finally went, I'm mediocre at both, so I'll just do them both.
But you're equally mediocre. Then you can.
It's the perfect match.
Well, I have not read the story. I have looked at your art. I can guarantee you're not mediocre at one of those two.
Cool.
So when you started on this, did you always expect to turn it out to the world as one graphic novel? Was there ever a thought of breaking it into chapters, or were you just whole hog?
Yeah, I just always pictured it as a graphic novel. I was super inspired by Delphine by Richard Sala, which is just this awesome graphic novel. And I just read that and was like, I just have to do something like Delphine. I just have to. It's just so cool. So yeah, I just always pictured it as a graphic novel, and imagined it as a one-off. And then now, as I'm coming up on the end now, it's going to be ending in May. I've been doing it for about 2 years,
Wow.
and book 2 has sort of started forming in my head, which I did not think there was going to be a book 2, but it seems like there is. So,
Well, you've got over $5,000 in 2 days.
yeah, it really, like, I went for a walk and came back and we'd passed 75%. Woohoo. So
Yeah, you're at 85 backers, over 5,000. I mean, I'm glad that there's a book 2 in your head, because it certainly looks like there's an audience for book 1, and that is
yeah, people have
that's
liked
awesome.
it. It's like it's a kind of weird little thing, but people do seem to really enjoy it, and that makes me feel great. And I feel like people would like the story to keep going, and so why not?
Absolutely.
I just looked through the campaign.
Wearing out my wrist drawing it, but
I just looked through Ashley's campaign. I have to say, one of the cool things too, or one of the things that I think is helping you out, is for the amount of content you're giving them, the $30 soft cover is like an amazing deal in Kickstarter world. You know what I'm saying? Like, so many people,
oh, you think so?
when they do
I
a
felt
graphic,
like
I mean, it's
I felt like
competitive
it was
with what
information
comic
on
book
price
stores.
control.
No, it's competitive with what I mean. If I'm getting close to 200 pages in the store, they're putting $29.99 on it. So, like,
Oh, that's
I
cool.
think $30 is a solid price point for that, and I think that's going to help you in the long run too.
Oh, that's really good to hear, because I agonized over that. I'm like, that I can't get it any lower than that, and it feels like I'm seeing everybody else's campaigns where they're like priced way lower. But maybe I wasn't taking page length into account, because that probably is part of why it's like
I can
that
tell you
price
my exact thing going to the page was, okay, this looks cool. Ooh, 29. Ooh, let's see. And I was going, should I go PDF? Should I go, trying to figure out the right thing. Will and I, we don't invite people on if we don't think the book is worth backing,
Oh, nice.
because there's too many people crowdfunding out there for us to not be like, all right, so our money, our money, it's all out here. But sometimes I'll do a PDF if I really just, like, because 3 people on here every week, it adds up too. But I went 160 pages with that artwork. Yeah, $29 is perfectly comfortable. That is
Oh, nice.
that there's value in them there tiers. So
Them thar hills.
Now that you put that out, it's like, oh yeah, that's why I couldn't get my price per unit any lower, because it's going to be fat.
Yeah.
Pretty big book.
Well, and a lot of single issues, they'll kickstart for. I know when I list, 15 is about as low as you can go for a low print run. Standard, 32, 40 page issue, and that's 200. So
yeah,
you're actually. Not only are you making us look bad because you can write it and do everything, you're also making us look bad because you're making our prices look terrible. So thanks.
All right, cool. So I'm, mission accomplished, making people look bad.
Ed says that he's been Ed called, I believe, Kelb. Kelb?
Yeah.
I don't have my glasses on. He's been following Nine Crow for about a year now. Really curious about his conclusion. Now you're going to tell us how it ends tonight, right?
Oh, totally. So this is
spoil it all, right?
We're coming so close to the end. People in the comments are like guessing the ending. I'm like, oh, I can't say anything. I'm really glad I had it scripted out and done ever since it started, because otherwise I'd be in that thing where it's like, oh, people are guessing. I want to change stuff, or I want to take people by surprise. I do the Game of Thrones twist thing, like where you throw everything out the window because you've got to surprise people. So luckily it's all written. There's no changing it. So no comment on.
So does it make you happy when someone guesses, if someone has, and we're not going to guarantee that they have, but if hypothetically someone had guessed the ending, would that make you happy or sad?
No, I think, you gotta, if you're laying the groundwork right, people have to be able to see somewhat of where it's going, or you're just not really setting anything up. So, people are bound to guess. So, and it's more like sort of vague. Like, is it going to be a happy ending? Somebody on my last page was like, "Oh no, I hope we're not headed for some mushy Hollywood ending."
Shawnee Meyer says that she came across Nine Crow a while ago and happy to see the campaign. Put in her pledge and can't wait to see how it ends.
Yeah.
So,
Hi, Johnny.
Yeah, Shawnee is one of our favorites. So if you've got the Shawnee, with her on board, I would have moved from PDF to book. So when you've got the Shawnee thumbs up, we're good to go.
Thank you, Shawnee. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. It's just scary coming up on the end because it's like, oh, now there's all this pressure.
As somebody who had so much faith in Game of Thrones before the last season, that I created a podcast where my wife and I rewatched everything, every episode, and we brought in my friend Chris, who'd never watched it. And so we did an entire podcast of every season in that last year. Yeah, lay the track, and if they guess it, let them guess it, please. God, please.
Not to dive into the Game of Thrones of it all, though, but the first POV chapter that's not an intro chapter is Bran's chapter, so it was always gonna be Bran.
So let's dive in. Okay, so here's my deal. The ending of that is very true. You're right, and yet it makes Bran the villain of the piece.
You sure Dany's not the villain of the piece?
Who whispered into Dany's father's ear to drive him crazy and turn him into the Mad King that started everything, that started the thing? There were just these voices in the Mad King's ear that drove him crazy, that started all of the issues that led to Robert's rebellion. Now, are we sure that there wasn't someone whispering in Dany's ear when she went from a character that we could trust for 6.5 seasons into a mad tyrant in 32 seconds?
Y'all are out there. I never trusted that gal. I was like, she's the villain. She's gonna do it.
Hey, you know what? You're the second person this week to say that, and all I can say is you read this text better than I did, because you're right and I was wrong. So I'm really excited to read Nine Crow, but we have some other amazing books. So let's pull up. Well, you know what, Danny, you had to fix your camera, so I say we go to Aurora and the Eagle first to punish you for your.
I'm okay with this. I like checking out the other people's campaigns.
There's no twist ending in mine, so there's nothing to be disappointed in. I said, it's semi-autobiographical, and I am now an American citizen, so it's going to end well. If folks can't copy the link, you can also go to auroraandtheeagle.com. It hyperlinks right to the campaign page, which is my best trick and my best advice about Kickstarter is pay GoDaddy $6.99 for whatever your account is going to be worth. But yeah, this is my campaign. Look at how pretty the art is. I didn't do the art.
I've seen this one and just been blown away by it. Wow.
89.29. This is gorgeous. 246 backers. Oh my gosh, you're doing great.
Yeah, we're doing okay. It does say 2 created, but this is technically my 6th crowdfunding campaign. I'm really bad at spatial relations. This book, Jupiter Jet, I'm a award-losing co-creator of alongside Jason Inman. And then our second book was called Science, the Element of Dark Energy, also award-losing, which were Kickstarter books. But this is my second Kickstarter comic all on my lonesome. So big, scary territory for me.
No, with art like this, and you know, like when you go into a thing, you can say this like jumps out at me, but with art like this, I think you might be up to lose more awards.
Yeah.
Well, when I started this, I've had this idea since I first immigrated to the States. That's the original grayscale art, but it is colored now. I really wanted to have another Canadian artist, and I really wanted it to be a female or a female identifying person. And so the CBC, which is our beloved Canadian broadcast company, had a list of like 10 Canadian comic book artists that you should watch out for. And the artist I wound up hiring from that list, her name is Emmanuelle Chateauneuf. And she really like takes my story and elevates it in such an interesting and fantastical and sort of dreamlike way that I didn't necessarily imagine. But if you can't glean from the Game of Thrones conversation and before the show started, I had to talk about Tolkien Reading Day. I'm like a huge fantasy nerd, so even though this is like superhero sci-fi, she kind of accidentally brought all of that out as we go on Aurora's journey to the United States.
Oh, this
Nice.
is
Now she does the art, or does she also do the coloring as well? Or wait, there actually there's the creative team right there on the screen, Kevin.
There you go. Our colorist, who is not credited on this page, but is Ali Von Ortiz, and she is a Mexican-based artist, and she's an artist in her own right, but she came and did the colors for this, and I was truly so blown away because obviously the inspiration of the Northern Lights, hence my color palette here today, is pretty important. And I didn't think it could get more beautiful. Also, it is unfair how hot Emmanuel draws the eagle. I was like, he's the dad figure. And she took the note of like, he is the daddy figure. Like, he's so smoking hot. I was not prepared for it when I first got these pages. But with Ali Von's colors over it, it really becomes this story on a different scale than it was in my head. In my head, it was a fantastical extrapolation of when I came here. There was no murder when I came here. I came here to go to theater school, but Aurora is drawn here to train to join the Unity League, which is like a global justice league kind of JLI vibe, and figure out why her predecessor died. And in these new pages, which we're looking at on screen right now, that's kind of her opening up the world. We're seeing representatives from different countries, and we're putting together some of the mystery. And this colored page that you're seeing right here, which is also my header image, is toward the end of the 48 pages that this book is going to be. And I always knew that there was going to be a twist with the eagle that was going to force Aurora, kind of in a Dick Grayson Nightwing arc, to leave being a sidekick and become a superhero in her own right. And it was going to happen around page 50, and page 48 is very close to page 50. And I'm super, super excited for people to see it and see how it kind of changes the world of this book, because I did a campaign for this in 2019 for the first 20 pages to pay my immigration bills, because it's very expensive to become a citizen. And now I'm psyched to be able to just bring this back for people like in a proper printed form. Also, the guy who's holding up the card who's on screen right now, that was a cameo from the last campaign.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like fun faces. And I think there's still a couple cameos open if people want to snap those up before the end of the month. But I've been
you could look this cool.
Yeah, you could look, again, Emmanuel makes everybody look really hot.
So this is the end of number 1, and if we're leaving on a cliffhanger, that tells me there's going to be a number 2. Well, how long do you consider this series is likely to go?
So if the publisher that this will go to, who it hasn't been announced yet, gets their way, this is going to be the equivalent of 6 standard-sized issues. I think for Kickstarter, I really like the prestige format of like a 48, 52 kind of page collection. So that's what I'm going to be aiming for. So it'll probably be 3 Kickstarter installations. And then if, I don't know, 2 or 5 or however many years down the line it goes onto shelves, I'll be coming to Florida to sign it. I'm speaking that into the universe right now. And it will probably be about the equivalent of 6 issues long. So.
Okay, well, that is something that I have actually already seen happen. A friend of the show and a friend of ours, Charlie Stickney, did White Ash. His books are usually 48 to 60 pages for an issue. And when they came out in shops, he kind of reconfigured a couple pages, and issue 1 became issues 1 and 2. So it's certainly perfectly doable. So I'm glad. I'm not going to ask you to tell who, what, when, or why, but it sounds like a plan that I've already seen work. So that's
it's so
exciting.
funny that you bring up Charlie, because Charlie's been a friend of ours for a long time. And when we were doing Jupiter Jet and we signed it at Comic-Con, he came to our table and was like, I'm thinking about doing a Kickstarter for White Ash. And so we helped him start White Ash. And then when I made this transition to single issues, I got a lot of advice for him on how to do it for like a much more compact, because everything I'd Kickstarted in the past was graphic novels. And that's like the other best thing about Kickstarter is everybody wants to help everybody. Like everyone in the stream, everyone who's watching, like we're all on the same team. And that makes me so excited. And also because I'm going to get at least 2 new things to back tonight. That's
Yes.
exciting.
Will and I joke about the explain yourself bump. It's almost a guarantee because we usually bring at least one person who hasn't met everybody else. So
Totally.
we can usually guarantee at least 1 or 2 backings. And then we do take credit for everything that happens for the rest of your campaign. So
Exactly.
Ashley and Danny, the next
you.
5 to 7 days, it's us.
Yeah.
But we got Dora for a month.
The last 25% of my campaign, all you guys.
Super excited.
No, that's really exciting. If you do get the 3 maxi Kickstarter issues done and the 6 issues that go out, any possibility that this world could have other stories in it, or is this a one story and done?
What I would really like to do is, because it is based on the idea of like an international community and an international superhero force, I would love to bring in creators of different nationalities to tell stories of different characters. When I did the first campaign, Kevin Scott, who's now like the king of Star Wars, asked me if he could do the English one. So I'm going to hold him to that. But that's what I would really like to see happen. And I'm not against that maybe being prose. That might be the best way to do it. So we have kind of a multidisciplinary universe. So Netflix, if you want to get in on like the animated series, I'm very open, and I would sell it for very cheap.
What Will and I really like is that you use the secret to get Netflix to watch this show. Like,
Yeah.
It's
like,
better for
just
everyone
put
if
it out
they
there.
do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm in LA, I'll just yell out the window, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, we got to get to Danny because Danny is just like a rock star in the community. You talk about the Kickstarter people kind of being on one team. There are a handful of stores out there, you know, Space Cadets in Houston and the Collective and Altamont Springs, that are super open-minded about giving indie books a chance. And I can't say this enough to you, Danny. We appreciate it so much for you to give us a place where people can come in and, without us being behind a booth with the pressure of that, look at our books and give us a chance. So thank you for that. But let's talk about the 5 teams you have in Tales of Collective Volume 2. Who did you corral this time to make this book with you?
So I'm gonna start with CJ Lab for 2 reasons. First of all, Baron is I want to say the first story. If I go through the pages of the book in my head, and I'm pretty sure it's the first story. The book is actually already printed. I made the mistake of not bringing a copy home. They're at the store. We have them already printed from Comic Impressions, so like that's super cool. Hopefully not that many pledges fail and we can keep some money here, but the book's already printed. But Baron is CJ Lab's book. He's literally from Orlando, and we met him by absolute happenstance. He walked into the store. He's one of the few, you know, that like walks into the store, has the books already printed, has them in hand. You know, his Kickstarter failed, so he decided to print them himself. And he's like, "Hey, man, I have these books. I'm a local creator. I heard you guys kind of do," and he heard from another shop that I think denied him, but said, "Hey, check them out." And he came over, and we carried his book on the shelf. And I usually, if it's something like that I'm not sure of, I start with 5. I sold out of his 5 by the week. And, I was calling him up and saying, I need more. He eventually did issue 2 on Kickstarter that funded a couple months back. And so this is his issue 0. It's the origin of the character Baron, because what I loved about his storytelling is issue 1 isn't just like, hey, here's this guy and this is how he grew up to be the guy that you're about to read for the next whatever issues. He jumped straight into this superhero kind of, and then decided to tell the origin later. And we're getting the never published 0 issue origin of Baron. So, that is a quote unquote key. And then we have Heather Gibb in her writing debut. That's Travis Gibb's wife. She's edited tons of stuff for Travis and Chuck and everybody like that. But she's writing Pup Van Winkle with another Central Florida artist, Martha Schwartz. And it's her writing debut. Martha has a couple of books from Kickstarter. But we're super happy to have 2 creative teams from Florida, as we try to do, so that they can come to the store, sign, and be involved with the community. People meet them. It's almost like a little convention when we do this. And then awesome. Our 2 out-of-state teams, or actually we also have Joel Quinn in state, which is the black and white that you're looking at right now. He's got a sci-fi book that is Men in Black, equal parts Men in Black meet X-Files.
Ooh, okay.
It's the fun and craziness of Men in Black without all the drama of X-Files, but all that sci-fi alien stuff.
Okay.
And then our out-of-state teams are C.R. Florence and Nathan Chow, who did Black Sam, which is a pirate book, which is kind of a theme to a lot of our covers because we have the Hook homage cover right there by Jamie Jones out of Georgia. And Black Sam. There's always one story in here in one of our books that I'm excited about, and I kind of say to myself, "How is this not with Top Cow, or how is this not with Boom or Aftershock?" And Black Sam, as great as every story is in here, Black Sam had had me floored. And I said to Travis, I said, "This is going to be in Diamond in a year. You know, like we're sitting on something cool here." And then William Sam Quinton and Alexia Valhausen, who Alexia is a recent Kubert School grad, they have 47 Furious Tales, which they gave us kind of like an Ashcan preview. They're already on issue 3 of their book, and it's been our best-selling collective initiative book. So we wanted to find a way to squeeze them in here without having them, they already have so much of their story scripted and told. They didn't really have too much to give us. So what they did was put together like a little Ashcan preview, 5 pages from both of the issues that put together a story and get you caught up to be able to go right to issue 3. And that is Tales from the Collective Initiative 2022, where we have the 5 creative teams. We went a little crazy. We're like at 36 pages, I think.
Okay.
Nice.
No, I think it's really great. And you try to do one of these every year now. This is the second one. And is that the goal? An annual?
So we're going to do 2 this year. Because of the nature of the anthology and the history of anthologies, we figured it'd be really cool to do a horror anthology for October.
Okay.
So we probably want to try to launch something in early September, maybe, as long as everything works out with the creative teams, so that we could fulfill before Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd probably do like Halloween Comic Fest at the store with the book and everything. We already have this awesome idea for a black. We did a yellow sketch cover on our first one, which obviously goes with our colors and everything. But we want to do a black sketch cover on yellow, and we think that will look awesome for the Halloween anthology. And we already have fellow Scout creator, I believe I can announce this, Austin Jankowski, I hope I'm saying that right, creator of Stanley the Snowman and Zombies Were Human Too. And he, I believe, is going to be working on a zombie story for us, because you can't do a horror anthology and not have one zombie story.
You can try to kill it, but it'll come right back.
Yeah.
The very nature of the beast.
That's right.
Shit, I think I just gave away my zombie story. And there you are, people. That is the sum total of how much thought I put into a story.
Wait, I'm taking notes, Kevin. Hang on.
So the guy who did Baron just brought it into you. I've met Heather with Travis, fabulous person, great couple. I'm not even going to insult either one of them because they're both great. So I'm happy that they found each other because they're both awesome. I would more likely mess with Travis than Heather, but
Yes,
that's just
correct.
the nature of his beast. But do you seek people out? Do you wait until they pitched you to get into this? How do you find the teams that are actually in your anthologies?
So it's a mix of both, to be fair. We're really lucky to have Travis as our project manager. I mean, he loves us, and I wouldn't be able to do this without him. I mean, first of all, he provides our great letterist, Jerome Gagnon, out of Canada, actually, as well. And
Nice.
he is like the rock. Like, letters, I never realized how important letters were until, like, he does our A cover. Isn't necessarily done by an artist. It's kind of an homage to Dark Horse Presents, with like the using interior panels to fill the slots. So that's done entirely by him. He designs that. He designs our trade dress. He designs our blank covers. So Travis ends up reaching out to a few people, and then I'll make suggestions, like I did with 47 Furious Tales, where I was like, this is our best-selling collective initiative book. It's on issue 3. Can we try to find a way to get something in here? And he does all, Travis knows the Kickstarter lingo. He does all the talking to people, negotiating, figuring out, what we'll do with comps and everything like that. But like, I'll kind of suggest, be like, dude, I'd love to work with this person. Like, I already, one of the people that I've been telling him since the end of issue 1, and it was just we needed kind of almost completed stuff for this one.
Mhm.
But Adam Barnhart, who's the creator of Shit Show, and he's
Yeah.
got a couple Kickstarters. I think we're gonna have him working on 2023 with us. So like, there's always people that we love at the store that if we can get an opportunity to work with them again, like we are
Right.
gonna take that opportunity. It's just that a lot of times the stars do have to align, because
Right.
everybody's got their own Kickstarter going. We're not trying to take away anything from them. Like Wendy Gale, Chuck's wife, she had her Viserion Tales that premiered in Tales from the Collective Initiative Volume 1, and she's finally going to Kickstarter with that this summer. And she's like, "Oh, can I add your book as add-ons?" I'm like, "Absolutely! Like that's your
Yeah.
guys, that is your guys' thing. Like I'm not gonna
Right.
lose. We have a storefront, we're not gonna lose sales by anybody taking something from us back to Kickstarter or back to their web stores. So like
Mhm.
a lot of it, the stars do have to align, but like our one thing is we try to do 2 Florida creators at least so that we can do a signing, because the whole idea is our customer base doesn't entirely know about Kickstarter, which was why we
Mhm.
started the whole section as a whole.
Mhm.
There's amazing stories being told on Kickstarter, but whether it be the hesitation of paying in advance for
Right.
something, I mean, Kickstarter is really adamant about telling you it's all or nothing. If it so, like, I think people read into that a little too much, and they say, "Oh, if it doesn't, I'm gonna lose my money." And obviously, Kickstarter is not even gonna take it. Like people don't realize Kickstarter doesn't take it out till the end and everything
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
So I just think there's a regular comic consumer, like whoever goes into a comic shop every day, isn't super familiar with Kickstarter just yet. But like
Well,
we have guys, I actually tell this, I've told this to Kevin because Tart has a little bit different publishing schedule than some of the other books. But I think one of the coolest compliments, and I take it one way, I can only imagine how the creators take it. But when I'm sitting at the register and somebody goes, "Oh, can I add this to my sub?" and I look at the book and it's a Kickstarter book, because like that means you made it. Because they can totally add Batman to their sub, they can add
mhm.
Iron Man to their sub, they can add something as killing children to their sub. They're choosing to add, Voodoo Nations from Travis Gibb or 47 Furious Tales, and that speaks volumes to me, especially when it's one of my customers that I know is reading the book. But
Yeah.
that guy would have never found that book ever in his life, his or her life, if they did not come to our store, because they weren't going to check Kickstarter. They were never
Right.
going to. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. It's not perfect yet, and there's so much to back that
Yes.
like we can't do it all, and that's why occasionally I'll grab a digital just so I know that we're reading it, and I'll pass it to like my coworker Brenna, who's kind of like my protege, because she's loving. We recently backed Fangs and Foul by Lee.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's so good.
And that came into the store, and she was so excited. So it's awesome to interject. Not many people know about Kickstarter, and now my whole staff loves the Kickstarters. We have whole reader bases that love Kickstarters. I have a whole Monday show around Kickstarters. So I'm really happy to be able to contribute what we can to the community.
I really love hearing that, especially because it's hard sometimes on Kickstarter to, if you don't have a publisher lined up, to feel like you can integrate with shops in that way. And like I've gotten this request too from people who own shops where they'll email me and just ask me for a PDF. And like, please do. I will send it to you. It is more important to me that people read it. But
Mhm.
every campaign I run, I always try to add like a retailer bundle. So it's like you get this many books, they can be signed or unsigned at like what would be lower than the regular
Yeah.
rate, because if you're going to help me, then I want to help you too. And I really appreciated hearing your perspective on like the Kickstarter sort of economy and how you can use it in like a traditional brick and mortar sense.
Oh yeah, and I know like because we work with Trey Walker as well, who's another one that like whenever I can get him in the anthology, like he's literally lives in Altamont. He's been published by Scout and everything like that. But he's like, yeah, Kickstarter quote unquote doesn't want you using it like as a storefront. And I was like, yeah, I understand, but I'm like, retailers don't have. There isn't quite anywhere yet for you all as Kickstarter or as creators like that to announce it to retailers. I know there's a Facebook group or two or whatnot, but like there really isn't a place. And now I'll admit, as that retailer side, like I'm the consumer in that sense. I'm so thankful for Kickstarter because it's opened my eyes to books that aren't in Diamond and books that have sold really well for
Yeah.
us.
Mhm.
Like we've had a lot of success with Snow White Zombie Apocalypse
Mhm.
from Brent, and like obviously everything Travis Gibb does and 47 Furious Tales, and it's like and yeah, there's books occasionally that like I have to really hand sell. But what I love is when there's a book that like John Westhoff's Depowered recently.
Yeah.
I always put it in New This Week right by my register so that way I can hand sell it. And I turn around at one point and a guy who I did not put it in his box goes, "Is this in my box?" And I said, "No, I don't see it." And he goes, "This sounds like it's right up my alley." And I realized he's grabbing my last copy. And I'm like,
Hell
"Oh,
yeah.
right,
Nice.
like, sell out, you know, like you don't expect to sell out that quickly, and it's really cool to see it happen. So, and
That's
I always reach out to the creator, not just to do a reorder, but to let them know, like, hey, your book sold really well, or hey, somebody added it to stub, like because I feel like you guys will enjoy that.
oh my God, yes. Tell me that even if it's a lie. I don't
Yeah,
care.
truly.
Well, you mentioned some like Facebook groups. Ashley, Dora, do you guys know about those groups? I hadn't.
I go on Facebook and I type in under the groups tab Kickstarter and I respond to every possible post that I can.
Smart.
But,
Okay.
but I'm in one. I live in Los Angeles. I'm in one for like SoCal retailers because kind of to like Danny's point, like people love it if you're like, I will show up in your store because that makes selling something super indie like that a lot easier.
Mhm.
And then I have like a couple shops that like different places that I've lived in that are like always in my corner, but I'm in a couple groups, but I assume that it's more valuable on the retailer side to have it come in as word of mouth from someone else. So like if I can get someone to go to their store and say, I backed this on Kickstarter, or I love this creator, or I love this book, then you're like, well, okay, well, at least search them in, I don't know, Mobi or whatever, please, something better than Mobi, POS system you're working on at the time.
I think what's great is we're getting to a point where there are more creators that are delivering on time than when Kickstarter started. I think there were a bunch of retailers who were excited about this platform in 2012, 2013. And there were a bunch of people who heard that you could make money on Kickstarter. So they put up an idea and they did make money because there was never I'm sure there was a thought to make a book, but that went away when they got the money. And there were a bunch of retailers that got burned by either bad faith or really good faith, but not ready to do this creators. And we who are doing it now are fighting that and all we can do is when a retailer like Danny backs us is get them the books and get it to them on time and in good.
So let me say one thing, just because you hit a nail on the head with that. I'm not going to say any specific names, but
say their name.
There's a Central Florida creator, and I mean, maybe Kevin or Will have heard of him, but there's a Central Florida creator who now is in Diamond. He does books very Dynamite-esque in the sense that it's always a woman protagonist character drawn very J. Scott Campbell-esque. But this person, I was doing research because people are always like, oh, why don't you carry his books? Why don't you carry his books? And I was like, well, they never looked super interesting, but I'll look into it. So then I looked into the person and I found out in many articles online that they're actually banned from Kickstarter for taking the money and not fulfilling multiple times, because I guess you can get away with it potentially once before they're really going to hammer. He's completely banned. But those, I believe those books that he did not fulfill for Kickstarter are now being published through his company that publishes through Diamond. So, you know, the books didn't die, like happens to it sometimes. Like if you don't fund, your book never gets made. His books are being made, but those people never got their books. And again, we're fighting against that stigma. And that was part of what we wanted to help, because it's not fair to a creator who's doing an awesome book to not be able to get a few backers because somebody's scared that they're going to lose their money. It's not fair.
No, it's not. And there's a whole, you know, when I used to work in TV production and you went into somebody's home, the home was supposed to be cleaner when you left than when you went into it. And we as Kickstarter creators and any crowdfunding, Zoop, you know, on the link, you need to try your best to make it cleaner and more fertilized than it was when you came in, because man, when somebody gets 9 Crow and they love it, they're going to come back to Kickstarter, and Will might be running a campaign. And somebody, you know, gets Aurora and loves it, I might be running a campaign. They get Tales from the Collective and they love it. Well, guess what, Danny? You're coming back in September for your. So we're all helping each other. Like, I call this greedy giving. This show is, you know, we're not talking about Will and I's books right now, but guess what? We're not crowdfunding anything right now. When we're running it, we're going to be on here talking about our books too. We're not selfless.
We're not saints.
Here.
We're not saints. No, we're not.
I think people undersell transparency though. Like, there are a ton of issues that are going to come up in your. I add 9 months to when I think I can deliver a Kickstarter book. Now I have learned that through mistakes in the past, but like right now we're in the middle of like a paper shortage and staffing shortages at printing houses, and I know this is an issue because I know none of you read your Kickstarter updates. Everybody watching this, nobody except the people in this panel and other creators read the Kickstarter
you get
updates.
like 3 likes, all right? Like, your occasional good Kickstarter update will get like those 3 interactions.
Yes.
And you're just like, thank you.
Just open them and scan them for keywords. I'm begging you. But I find that if you were just like transparent about what is going on, like, people will be very, very forgiving, because creators of all sizes, with all the power of the world, like Liam Sharp just delivered a Kickstarter late and it was awesome and he was super transparent about it, so nobody cares. I think of the 5 I've delivered, Aurora being the 6th, all but one of them have been late because of like printing issue, publisher issues, postage, whatever. And I think people also undersell that. And when you're not getting updates or anything, and then you have to go to Twitter and be like, hey, homie, it's been 2.5 years. Where's this book coming from? To go all the way back to the beginning of the conversation, it comes back bad on those of us who have managed to fulfill everything.
Yeah. And I have never been mad at somebody who was late and kept communicating to me.
Never.
It's just when all of a sudden you stop getting communication, that it gets rough. You know, but you know, you learn from the best. If you're that late and somebody asks you, just block them. That's what you do. Right?
I can't imagine who you're talking about.
I think you might know. Shawnee Myers says, I've been incredibly lucky. While I've definitely had some disappointments, they've been few and far between. Mostly the campaigns I backed have been awesome with the transparency, communication, and ultimately fulfillment. And part of that is listening to the recommendation of people I trust. So, you know, and I don't think the charlatans that really saw Kickstarter as a cash grab are there anymore. I haven't run into that in the last 3 to 4 years. Whereas when I started and I was like, you know, like, oh, we're all in this together, yay. And there were like 3 in a row that it felt like a take the money and run type situation.
I will tell you what's interesting, and granted, speaking of Kickstarters that haven't given updates and things like that, this one I will name because I have no problem. We went ahead and backed Source Point doing a hardcover for The Rise of Dracula, which obviously came out as single issues through Diamond, came out as a trade paperback through Diamond. We're a gaming store, so Dracula and stuff, you know, there's things that just hit both sides of the store, Dracula, Cthulhu. So I'm like, all right, cool. A limited edition hardcover, like the retailer tier is really good. Interesting that a publisher that is through Diamond is doing a retailer tier through a different thing, but whatever. So we backed it, and I want to say that was like in August. And it's still not out. And again, paper shortages and everything. But there haven't been updates that are like, and again, I'm a retailer, semi-worried about my bottom line. I can't imagine the guys who like put $30 into it being like, okay, yeah, I want to read this. Or I think it was $40 for a hardcover, which is, again, why I told you that your price was really good. But yeah, it's sometimes weird when you see like a big public, like I don't mind the big name creators. Like I know somebody gave, I forgot what this creator's name was, but he recently did a Kickstarter and he made like oodles of money and people are really mad about it. I don't mind when it's a creator with a name. I kind of find it weird when it's a whole publishing company running a Kickstarter. Like the Keanu Reeves one was always interesting to me back with Berserker, and like you know, that is interesting to me, because that's kind of not what Kickstarter is supposed to be about in a way. Like, I know we're kind of teetering on that gray line as well, since we're a retailer, but like we're really just trying, like, we take no ownership over the properties. Like, we're really just trying to get these things out there in a different way for these people. But yeah, it's always weird when I see like a big company doing a Kickstarter.
My theory is if they've done their homework and do an actual good campaign, then I think it's great, because it brings so many people to the platform that have never been there. When Archie did theirs a couple years back, I was really happy Archie was on it, but it was really obvious they hadn't done any of the work to know how Kickstarter was different than everything they've done for 190 years of making Archie. You know, like everybody asks, what's your first comic? And I answer X-Men 194, First Adventure, Nimrod, and you know, like, it's the greatest thing in the world. No, it was Archie Double Digest. I don't know which one it was that I begged my mom to buy me when I was 5, but damn it, it was Betty, Veronica, Archie, Jughead, and that's what got me in. And then Bazooka Joe helped, and then I was ready for Claremont. So they're great. I love Archie. I love that they exist. I love that they do all these things, but they didn't do the homework. Now, Berserker, I remember coming on and seeing $1 million in Keanu's, and I was like, I don't have to myself back them. They're good.
Yeah.
But more power to them. It brought money to the platform. It brought eyes. As far as I know, they've delivered. So God blesses everyone if you deliver your comic.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's really important too about the updates. You know, a lot of creators, you know, you mentioned Liam Sharp. I backed all 3 of those. You know, so he was late, but you know, he would come on regularly, and in fact, you know, sometimes he would post something and go, "Oh, I forgot to mention." You know, I had like 3 updates in a day or something. You know?
He also offered people refunds when they got mad. So
Yeah.
But you know, there are other creators that you know, like, hey, once the campaign's done, you know, here's my Wednesday update. It's every week until you get the books, or here's my monthly update. Here's, you know, I feel like that goes a really long way to kind of, you know, assuaging that, you know, oh my, I'm going to lose my money kind of, you know, effect from people that have backed. So plus, you know, with that and delivering, you know, when you have a track record, you know, I think it's, you know, you've done everything you can do at that point to keep those fears, you know, as minimal as possible.
And I think that when the first creator sent a thing saying that they were going to be later because there was a paper shortage, Image had just missed weeks of books because of a paper shortage. I mean, this is real, and it's scary as heck. Like Ashley said, we're doing a hardcover for Tart in a couple months. I just went in and changed everything to the end of the year, because if I can do it in 3 months, like the printer says,
look
I'll
like
get
a
it.
hero.
Exactly. It doesn't hurt anybody to get a book 3 months early.
Yeah.
And if I deliver on time, I'll be disappointed, but I won't tell anybody that I am, you know? So
well, I mean, next week, Ryan is going to be finishing up colors. So, you know, we're going to be sending Crossover Division 3 to Comic Impressions very, very soon. And I'm like, please just have the good paper that you've had for the last 2 issues. Please, 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 please.
So, I'll tell you guys, since we just printed through Impressions, we were surprised. First of all, they hooked us up. I think that's Travis having the sweetheart deal that he has with them. But they were able to print our book. I think Travis was saying it was the coincidence that they had paper at the day that we submitted the thing. But they had our book to us in like 10 days.
Oh, wow.
Also, they ran out of the type of cardstock they typically use for the cover. So they asked us if we were okay with, I forget, it's something Dull, D-U-L-L, like D-U-L-L something cardstock. And I was skeptical. I really was. And then it came, and it wasn't like a satin finish, but it was really nice cover. It takes signature well. So like, I think that's what we're going to use moving forward right now, because I do not like the glossy covers. Because if any of you guys have done those in the past, when you do a signing event, you have to like, don't put it in your bag and board just yet, you know? And it's like, these other covers really take the pen a lot better. I know it sounds I never thought I'd be in the world where I'm talking about cover stock and
And pins, your paint pins, don't forget those.
yeah.
Shawnee says to make more offerings to the paper gods. Absolutely.
What do you
Is-
sacrifice to the paper gods? A tree? Like what do you what
No.
like you know
You-
like
but-
I think
no,
you plant a
paper
tree
dolls.
in honor
Yeah.
of the paper gods.
you burn a paper doll, maybe? I don't know.
yeah. But then
a
you
little
wasted
paper effigy of your favorite comic book retailer.
needs to make the book. This is a paper shortage, y'all.
Or no, maybe sacrifice like termites. What's the
Yeah,
enemy
yeah,
of
yeah.
paper? I don't know.
I like
Okay.
that one. That one's
Yeah.
good. I'll do that tonight, Shawnee.
I have really good news. I had to tint my house about 6 months ago. My neighbor tinted their house last weekend. We have done our
Covered.
termite sacrifices.
All right.
Good.
Paper shortage over.
You will have good paper luck, Kevin.
I did miss this one. Ignacio says Bazooka Joe continuity is a mess. Good training.
Would you
for
call it
X-Men."
continuity?
Yeah. It's just like Beetle Bailey continuity, isn't it?
Yeah, really.
Hey man, it was 5 cents. Every joke I ever got was worth 5 cents and a gum. That gum was good for 13 seconds, and that's all that I needed.
Only if you didn't have fillings.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm being good for any seconds at
You
all.
weren't gonna have fillings after it.
Yeah, for sure, though.
Well, I've kind of got a question. I mean, Danny, you're herding a lot of cats with an anthology. I know how challenging that can be at times, but kind of, for everyone here, how long does it take you to put together, kind of I guess this project, for instance, and then, going forward, I assume you're going to be doing, potentially more. There's a number 2 maybe coming for Dora, and, Ashley, you've got something more coming, and then we've got more, collective Tales from the Collective coming. How long, what goes into that, and how long does it take you to get that ready to rumble, basically?
Well,
So,
I know for me it takes a long time. That's why I put my fulfillment date in December. I'm like, I'm just going to do this for a long time.
Yeah, but who do you get angry at? Like when like deadlines aren't met? Because
Writer Dora gets really mad at artist Dora.
Artist Dora.
And artist
Yeah.
Dora gets-
I'm imagining the Gollum scene from the Lord of the
What is
Rings.
taking so long on these inks?
my buddy Juan from Creature Entertainment, you might know him, Danny. He owns Goblin Heist down in Hialeah.
Okay,
He's an artist and a writer, and he says he's like, man, writer Juan is always like, this would be so cool. They're by a chain link fence and there's 20 people behind it reading. And then 3 weeks later, artist Juan gets like, fuck that guy.
I think of,
that
I
was
think
me.
of
That
my
was
process.
me when I did the 1 page.
I think of my process more like past Ashley and future Ashley. Like I'm always trying to make it easier for future
Same.
Ashley, but every
Yeah.
once in a while you're like, you idiot! How did you not think that the post office was going to change the prices twice in 1 year and budget for this accurately?
Exactly.
Okay, in your defense, the past holiday increase was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
No one could have predicted that one. They were just like, in December it costs more.
It's upsetting because I really love my international crowd, and I have like a good contingent of like international folks who support everything I do. And it sucks to be like, by the way, your shipping is $35, which is more than the reward that you purchased.
I know.
We had one Canadian backer, and I felt terrible. Actually, I didn't even know how to ship it. I had to ask Travis. I gave Travis the books, and I said, "Can you ship this?" Because like I was typing it into what we use, like stamps and this. And I'm like, I
Me
can't
too.
get the address right.
Yeah.
I know Gerald, who does the Breakneck comics. He's in Canada, but he lives like right on the border. And he told me he's super lucky to what he does is when he has to ship to US backers, he just gets in the car pre-COVID or post lockdown and goes over the border, ships them from the US post office super cheap, and then his Canadian stuff. And I'm like, if you're on the border, that is genius because it costs down both ways.
I have done that several times where I have left off sending Canadian things until if it's within like a month or like 6 weeks. And I will, if I'm going home, I will take them with me and I will send them because most airports also, by the way, have post offices in them. So if you're just making a connection, I did that when I went home for my best friend's wedding a couple of years ago. I will probably do that this year, but it's like you are balancing that out with like the price of a plane ticket. So if you're not going to Canada or going to the UK or Australia
Depends
anyway,
how
like I'm
many
not,
you got, right?
yeah, I'm not recommending that necessarily, unless we all get blessed with, again, like we just keep bringing up Liam Sharp. Unless we all get blessed with that amount of funding, then maybe we can fly around the world and deliver a couple things.
I think, Kevin, we were joking one time that it actually would have been cheaper for us to just buy a ticket to Australia, fly there and deliver the stupid packages, and then fly back.
Yeah, there was a point there where everything had to go expressed if you were going to get it there, and it felt like once you had about 15 or 20 people, if you did, that it was worth doing that. Like here's a trick. If you're a Kickstarter backer, here's a trick that we pull. We want people, of course, to back at whatever level that they are comfortable backing. No problem. If you want to back for $6 or $16 or $600, great. But, the more people that back at the higher tiers, the better for the whole campaign. And you never want a really expensive tier that you think people might back to be the most expensive tier, because it feels more expensive. So you want to maybe create a tier or two above that. And I was sitting there one time and I was like, all right, for $3,000, I'll hand deliver your book to you in America. And for $12,000, I'll hand deliver it to you anywhere in the world. And I was like, if anybody picks it, my wife and my kid and I are going to Australia or Sweden or Germany. I mean, nobody picked it. I don't think anybody thought about it.
I saw Ashley. I think it was Ashley's campaign. Has the Ashley will deliver it to you? Is it as Aurora?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you wanna like basically double fund what I was asking for, I will come to your house, no matter where you are in the world. No one. I always put that on there. Nobody ever backs it, but someday one of you creeps who sends me unsolicited dick pics is gonna buy it. I just know it.
The joke's on you, right?
Yeah.
and Ashley's paying for dinner or a meal.
Yeah, because that's a public place, so it's harder to kill me there.
I think that is very, very smart. Yeah, that's only $5,000.
Right.
Why not?
If I had $5,000, I wouldn't be on
If
Kickstarter.
they choose somewhere in California, like right by her, joke's on them,
Then I can watch.
For her to get there. But if they are gonna send her all the way to
Japan.
Rhode Island, there you go.
Please pay for me to come to Japan, though.
That's part of it. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's a once in a lifetime trip, but definitely in a very public place in another country, much less.
And it made me think, because one thing, it opened my eyes for a second. I know Ashley's is more so for the whole fan experience, but it made me think, if and it's not perfect, because depending where you're going to where you're going, the plane ticket's different. But if somebody could make a retailer tier, not perfect, but get close to perfect, a retailer tier that is literally hey, here are the copies, plus, this is what I anticipate it would cost for me to come down there.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the signing package, you get 20 copies plus me coming down to sign. That would be something we'd look into, because we've done it with, especially cover artists, pay for their flight or pay for their hotel or pay. Hoyt Silva's from Atlanta, so he drives down and we pay for his gas. And so it's I found that very interesting, and it had my wheels turning oh, what if people could work in a signing tier,
Yeah.
I'm looking up the distance between Fayetteville, Arkansas and the Collective right now.
Well, Will, when Tart Season 2 trade paperback comes out in June, Danny and I are talking. So maybe get to Orlando in June and pull up a table.
Do a little Southeast tour while you're at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw somebody did that recently, because it's especially, I think Travis Gibb helped them set it up, but there's us, there's at least one other store, maybe two in Central Florida that are really indie heavy. Then Kyle Willis has his recent store out in Jacksonville, which is, if you're staying in Orlando, that's only about a 2-hour drive. And then I want to say Scout HQ, if you're booked, if Kevin's out here, Scout HQ is only like that way. Mm-hmm. And then Travis has a store or two in Daytona and Melbourne, which So everything's very like if you're centrally, like if you're staying in an Orlando or Kissimmee, Central Florida area, you can probably hit like 5 or 6 stores signings in a matter of less than 2-hour drives. Like, now granted, most stores are going to want you to sign on a Wednesday or Saturday, so you probably got to stay in town for a while. But
yeah,
or make multiple trips.
My wife
Or come
has
around to
been
con.
yes.
yeah.
My wife has been incredibly encouraging and incredibly supportive. I don't think I get to go away for 3 weeks to sign my comics. Wait,
too.
unless I take my daughter. Maybe if I take my daughter and she has 3 weeks to do whatever she wants. Maybe.
So I'm hearing
maybe I'll get away
summer
with it.
vacation road trip is what I'm hearing.
I don't know. My kid's 13. She's just discovered how much she wants to be away from us. So I don't know how much she'd want to be on a 3-week road trip with me. Oh man, that's funny. So we're hitting midnight, just a little bit after. I'm having an absolute blast. I want to do one crazy thing. All right. What's Best Picture? Who's winning Best Picture and who should win Best Picture?
Who's going first?
I'll go first. I'll go first.
Kevin was so excited.
I'll go first. I thought I was going to have to say that this is what I wanted to win, but it wouldn't. But now that I'm really watching the roller coaster, I think it has a shot. The movie that blew me away from start to finish, and then at the end, just absolutely just took my heart and made it theirs was Coda. So I'm rooting for Coda to win Best Picture.
Okay, I'll go next then. I think I would have said before the PGAs that it was either going to be Power of the Dog or West Side Story. Now I think it's either going to be Power of the Dog or Coda. And I would be happy for either of those to win because I cried piteously at Coda. Troy Kotsur has my entire heart. But also my British boyfriend is in Power of the Dog. So I just want him to have all the nice things in this world.
I'm going to go Power of the Dog for the simple fact that I had the tune that Kirsten Dunst was trying to learn stuck in my head for like a week afterwards. So it's not staying power.
She was fabulous in that. I was so happy to see how good she was in that.
Yeah.
And Cumby was pretty darn good too. I'll give you that.
Not as handsome as he usually is, but he was good.
What I will say is I thought Cumberbatch deserved his nomination, and I thought Kirsten deserved hers, and the younger supporting actor.
Cody Smith McPhee of Nightcrawler fame.
I was a little surprised after I watched it that the other brother got it. Not that he didn't do a great job. He did a great job, but I didn't think that character had what he did in the beginning of the movie, in the middle of the movie, and the end of the movie was the same. And I was surprised a nomination came for doing the same thing for 2 hours really well.
Well, he is a better agent than Cody Smith.
Maybe. So if Power of the Dog gets it, I would not be upset. Danny or Will, are you gonna come in or?
So I'm a movie simp in the sense that like I'm still like I grew up in the late 90s. I mean, I'm a 91 baby. So I grew up watching Spider-Man, X-Men. Like, I mean, popcorn flicks are kind of my thing, as people will call it. So like Dune kind of did that for me this year in a weird way. Like I actually did not care for the previous Dune at all. That was before my time. The special effects weren't, you know what I'm saying? Like that was like, I was like, this is cheesy. This is terrible. This is like Tremors. And this was like,
be careful. I think you just stepped on some people are going to come at you.
As a kid from the 90s.
And your Twitter is?
Tremors was always on like TBS or whatever, or TNT or something. And then Dune would occasionally show up, and I'm like, oh, are these in the same universe? Like, you know, it was just like, it was that era, you know? So I'm that kind of kid. So Dune brought me back to like, I'm the guy who's loving the Batman right now. I think hopefully that gets some love next year. But like, I want to, when I go to a movie theater, as much as I love like your heartfelt, like I love good storytelling. I do. And I will usually watch that at home. So when I want like my movies, when I'm going to a movie theater, I just want to like have my tub of popcorn, my blue icy,
Cool.
and I just want to like enjoy. I don't care if it's 100, like I don't care if it's an hour and 20 minutes to get to the minimum of a major motion picture,
Yeah.
or if it's like 3 hours, like Batman, or like, I mean, as much as Avatar gets hate, like I love that movie in a sense because when I saw it in theaters for the first time, it just like blew my freaking mind,
Right.
and like I like experiences.
No
like
pun intended. It blew your mind.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a bad pun. Nah. But yeah, and I thought Dune brought that back in a sense, like that major cinematic masterpiece. And yeah, obviously multi-$100 million budget and everything, but like I'm a simp for that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you make a really good point that it used to be the budgets between TVs and movies were so radically different that you couldn't get what nowadays some weekly series they're doing 10 episodes, but they have huge budgets for those 10 episodes, and you're getting an almost 10-hour movie type experience just broken up in a serial format. So it's really interesting because I feel like the entire storytelling chops of entertainment has just risen so much in the last couple of decades.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
you're lucky, and Kevin's 13-year-old daughter is lucky. Like for like the content that's about to
jealousy.
come out, man. Like
So-
TV is so much better than it was.
Yeah.
but as somebody who had a daughter 13 years ago, I'm lucky because I had a kid during the Pixar era. I had a kid during the Lord and Miller era of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. The kids movies that I was forced to go to were 80% of the time friggin' awesome. The movies my parents had to take me to were utter crap. I thought they were
Right,
great.
the Goonies, like you had like the Goonies.
We
and,
did
like,
have the Goonies. Yeah, that was pretty good.
I guess. I don't know. There's stuff. There's stuff.
I've heard of this
Star
one
Wars.
Star Wars. I heard of this little tiny movie, independent film called Star Wars.
Star Trek
Hell
First
no.
Contact.
They'll never. That Star Wars will never make it. Those
Yeah.
the Trek and the Wars
Never
don't have a
wrong about
chance.
this.
Flash and
I will say that I remember Dad took me to go see, and I grew up in rural Arkansas, so we went to the theater in the smaller big city that was close, but we saw Star Trek the motion picture, and we both came out of that, and I was like,
It's coming out on 4K though, and I'm excited.
we're like, what was that, Dad?
It was
There was lots
long.
of pretty lights. I don't know what
It was long.
just happened.
Beautiful. That movie
was
was
beautiful.
so beautiful. And
Dude,
that's where I'm going to stop.
Like I'm
Exactly.
just gonna say this will show how young like I kind of am, in the sense that when my older brother took me to see the first X-Men movie, that Bryan Singer X-Men movie,
Yeah.
what started it all, because that predates Spider-Man by like a year.
Mhm.
And I remember, and I had never read I come from a Hispanic family, so I'd never read a comic in my life. I knew who Spider-Man and the X-Men were from the animated series on Fox.
Mhm.
So I see this live action thing with like Wolverine and Cyclops. And again, that movie, it hasn't held up great because of special effects, but it was great at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember literally coming out of there. I mean, that's what made me a comic fan. Like my jaw was on the floor. Like cinema is so important. Like I know we were here to talk about comics, but like cinema is so important. And I actually I say this all the time. I love that comic books are getting made into movies, but I really wish movie studios would realize that comic books are literally storyboards. You do not have to change a ton of it. It is storyboarded for you. Just go ahead and cast somebody and write a script, and you are going to be fine.
And Jimmy Palmiotti has an amazing idea, is the movie theater should have graphic novels of when Captain Marvel came out, they should have had Kelly Sue DeConnick's.
Where is the spinner racks in
Yeah.
the lobbies?
Like right behind you. That spinner
He's
rack
doing
is so
great.
awesome.
That's a Kickstarter. That is from. Is it this way? Yeah, space. That was a Kickstarter reward. But
That's
that now is
awesome.
the one that they sell through Diamond. But it was originally a Kickstarter project. So
Nice.
Oh wow.
bringing it all back together.
And like what was the we were just talking about non superhero comics that turned into a movie, like Road to Perdition. 99% of the people that saw that movie had no idea that it was a comic.
Oh yeah.
And
That one M. Night Shyamalan movie recently, I think it was called Old, or that might be the graphic novel.
That was the most recent one he did.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
that's based on a graphic novel. We never even carried it prior to the trailer, and then somebody asked about it, and then we ordered. I think it's called Sandcastle or Sandcastles, maybe is the graphic novel. But we
Makes sense.
ordered up on it, and then we sold out of it. It's actually amazing. I know I'm in retailer threads where like retailers like, I'm not gonna order up on Batman because the movie's not gonna bring anybody in here, and then like. I'm not
Eep.
dumb. I ordered up on Batman Long Halloween and Ego and Year One, and like what I thought was enough copies at 10 is now like, oh my god, I have to reorder more Batman. So people do come in, but it's right. The movie theaters, they're making millions on Marvel, like AMC, Regal. It
Mhm.
wouldn't hurt them, and like maybe it would hurt comic stores, but it really wouldn't hurt a movie theater to put a spinner rack right at
But-
the thing, and just
but-
with graphic novels. Don't put single issues. Just put the graphic novels up there.
But if they sold 300 copies of Batman Year One, and then a month later, Batman's not in the movie theater, and 180 of those people liked it, doesn't that help you in the long
Yep.
run if they did that?
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's why I say it's great for the comic industry as a whole,
Mhm.
because it's gonna get comic books in the hands of people that aren't likely to even know where they're at. I mean, I feel like more people are finding graphic novels at Barnes and Noble just because that's where you are going to look for all your books, and they have good branding in the sense of graphic novels, magazines.
Mhm.
But like there's still a person who's finding a graphic novel at Barnes and Noble, unless they're literally shopping there because they're like a Barnes and Noble club member and they get a nice
Mhm.
discount or whatever, like they likely don't know about their local comic store. They're there because that's where they assume the graphic novels are available.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think the recent J-Lo movie was based on a
That's right.
I think it was based on a graphic novel
Wait,
that
Marry Me?
Yeah, it might even be. Is it an Action Lab comic? No, man.
Wow.
I think the writer was saying, yeah, he just ran across it when he was at San Diego and said, hey, this is cool. We're going to make a movie out of it.
Wish someone like that would run across my table. Dang.
Yeah,
Like,
Russell Nolte said that the writer, artist, or writer of it, he had met at cons for years, and the guy was just pushing out his book, and that's one that's on our list because we've heard it's a decent romantic comedy, and my kid's 13, and I'm a sucker for good romantic comedy. So we're definitely gonna watch that pretty soon, but haven't got to it yet.
It's on my list too. The writer is John Rogers. He actually wrote Blue Beetle for a while. He did Leverage on TV, The Librarians. Trying to think what other recent stuff he has. But he's an awesome writer. I just like following him. He's a good dude.
Cool. No, I mean that's a beautiful, like Jonathan Edrick. He's somebody who's trying to put the recount. The countdown. The recount, someone is putting that together, and Jonathan couldn't be a nicer person, and the book is great, and it's just like it's exciting to see it happening for people, and hopefully they take his source material and do it justice, because I could see that being an amazing television show, movie. I don't know. Jonathan wasn't real big on details at the time, which I think is probably contractually. And I respect that.
I think Trey Walker's Last Stop was also optioned. I think he's been telling me that they're working on a lot of stuff, and that's one, again, that because of Trey and Hoyt's style, that can be animated or live action, and I mean it's still either way. Netflix has had a lot of success with animated. Like I don't think animated is something bad anymore, like in that sense. Like it's not the cheaper thing. I think Into the Spider-Verse showed us that animated is very much a big money thing.
Lord Miller.
Yep.
Have you guys seen the Harley Quinn animated series?
Yeah.
My wife does not like to watch. She's like, oh no animation. We both watched. We laughed and laughed and laughed. That is such an awesome series. It's just so funny.
My daughter is so jealous that we get to watch that because we just keep saying like, look, when you're a little older, yes, but it's
just gotta get sneaky like we had to do watching The Simpsons in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just watching Beavis and Butthead like today. All right. I watched the Beavis and Butthead movie from like, I don't know, 1996. So again, I watched that movie when I was like 8 years old. I should not have been watching. I think my parents saw it was a cartoon and they were like, oh, that's so I'm watching that as a 31-year-old and I'm hearing jokes and I'm laughing my butt off. But I'm like, I totally didn't get that when I was 8. You know, I'm like, oh my God, I did not know what that meant when I was that age, but that is funny, you know? So it's crazy how that works.
We've just opened up R-rated movies, so every once in a while one will go by and I just kind of like so
That's right. I remember you showed her Die Hard was the first one, right?
Die Hard was the first one. Then we went to the first Terminator, and then we went. Oh, Arnie's on the table, and we had to buy Commando and Raw Deal because they aren't streaming anywhere. And we were just like, look, okay, Terminator is filet mignon. These are just sugary popsicles, and they're so good.
I haven't watched Terminator in years. That's really R-rated.
The first one is.
Yeah.
The first one is R-rated.
T2's PG-13, but the first one's R-rated.
Wow.
He pulls the guy's heart out, Danny.
Don't you get one of those? Don't you get one of those?
It's one F word and one heart.
Yeah.
Hey, because that was in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, right? You know,
That's true.
Is
Yeah,
it
but
just
Spielberg
they
gets
did it
away with
worse?
shit, man.
That guy
Spielberg
melts. That guy
yeah.
He
melts.
gets away with
in
it
that
because we
movie.
think like parents with cartoons are like, it's Spielberg, it's like feel good, it's fam, and then you're like, I'm crying at ET, what is happening? Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's because of Gremlins. He didn't direct it, but he produced it. Gremlins is the only reason we have PG-13.
Yeah,
A bunch of parents were like, he did ET. We're going to take our kids. And then the Gremlins are, like...
Gremlins isn't that bad, though. I'm pretty sure. Like,
okay, so read up on Gremlins and PG-13. Kids came out of that theater, like, traumatized.
I was pretty scared of
I watched it
Gremlins.
as a 28-year-old, so I guess I was all right. But
hey, don't talk to me
If you've
about
already
Transformers
seen
the movie,
Saw,
okay?
you can't watch Gremlins and decide,
LOL.
You can't go back from. You're not going to get the same effect.
No. Well, it is 12:30 my time. I know we're all over the country, but I want to thank you guys for joining us. Let's do another. Like I said, it's not live. We can do it as many times as we want. Let's do another 30-second pitch and see how it goes now. I'll let you go last, Dora. Danny, the next time somebody comes into the shop and you want them to walk out with Tales of the Collective, how would you talk to that book about it?
So Tales from the Collective Initiative 2022 is a 36-page anthology, 5 different creative teams. That's why it's a couple extra pages. So it's 5 complete 5 to 7 page stories from creators from all over the world, or all over the US at least. 3 of which being from Florida. We have sci-fi, we have superheroes, we have fantasy, we have pirates, and we have samurais. So 5 completely unique stories in their own universes. 4 out of the 5 have never been published. None of those pages have ever been published. And the 5th one is kind of an ashcan review to get you into issue 3 of a new title. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't read, maybe you forgot about. But
and
5 different books.
0 issue of Baron that you think is gonna explode. So this is your chance to.
It's such great storytelling by CJ. It's like, I know so many people are tempted to put their origin story in like your first issue. Like your first issue has to be like, this is how I became who I became. But I mean, traditionally in comics, that wasn't how it was necessarily done. You know, like Detective Comics 27 isn't necessarily like all about his origin. That you get a lot of that in year 1, which was years later. So I love the idea that he held that instead of just doing that as issue 1. So I'm really excited for that story.
Cool. Ashley, if after you say "Hey,"
Hey!
with your full actor diaphragm,
Yeah,
what
all
would
the
you
way down
say?
here.
The drama kid.
I'd say, hey, and then I would say, if you miss Supergirl on the CW and you think you've never read a Canadian superhero comic book because you're unaware of Alpha Flight or Captain Canuck or Novena of the North, who was the first original female superhero, then I would recommend checking out Aurora and the Eagle. She's designed to look like me and based on me. And if you're a man and this is a comic book store, the one that I used to work in, you probably like me. So I think that you would like my comic book. It is the intersection of superhero identities and what all of that means. And there's a huge cliffhanger. And if that doesn't get you, then you don't have to come for volume 2.
Nice. All right.
Bravo.
Love the confidence. All right, Dora. Let's.
I have to
remember this. This is not live. You can just do it.
Okay.
Start over. Do it, and then Will and I will edit it.
Okay, so hey, I've learned that. Hey, if you like classic horror like The Omen, Rosemary's Baby, the original Stepford Wives, check out Nine Crow. It is psychological suspense mystery in a small town setting, and yeah, take a look at it.
And I will say
Written
from
by a writer
experience,
illustrator.
yes, she did all this shit.
I did all this
Don't
shit.
forget that one. After Hey, the other ones, I did all this shit. No, one thing I will say, if you're going to Kickstarter to look for Nine Crow, there is not it is one word, not two. I put it in as 2 words, not thinking, and was like, oh my God, I don't know if she launched. And then I used your name and found it. So one word, Nine Crow.
Yep. One word. I had to get cute with that. I don't know why.
No, hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with that.
I don't know much about Kickstarter algorithms, but I hear Travis Gibb always like yell these things out to people. Maybe like you could get all fancy with the title and be like Nine Crow, you know, the your tagline, and then parentheses at the end be like not Nine Crow. But then when somebody looks up Nine Crow Spaces, you still come up.
That's true.
Perfect. Yeah,
oh my God, Shawnee. This has been an awesome ending to a happy birthday. Oh,
happy birthday, Shawnee.
It's happy birthday. It's also King T'Chaka's birthday, and tomorrow it's my birthday. So that's so fun.
Happy early
happy
birthday.
Okay.
Aries,
Your birthday
Kings
on the East Coast. We're in the future.
That's right.
Ashley, I'm gonna say you get out of this. Anybody gonna join me singing Shawnee and Ashley a happy birthday, or do you guys dare?
I'll sing to Shawnee.
I promise you, I can't sing.
I can't either.
I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
All right. Wait
birthday.
wait a second. Will we get sued?
Already.
No, I think
No, public domain.
Like
That's different now, right? Okay, good. Because Will and I don't have the money.
Yeah.
You'll have to go to Kickstarter.
Yeah. Oh, we could kickstart the legal fees. And then make a comic. One of the goals would be that we make a comic about the legal proceedings.
All right, Shawnee, I know for a fact you're worth it. Ashley, in an hour and 26 minutes, you proved you're worth it.
Thank you.
It. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Shawnee and Ashley. Happy birthday to you.
Kevin, you're so lucky you're not on Twitch, because then people could have screen capped that and then just share it all over the internet.
Oh, man. You know what? Shawnee, you are the absolute best. I hope it was a wonderful
Shawnee,
birthday.
if you get if you want, send me you can send me a message through Facebook, or you can also reach out to Kevin. I'll send you a free copy of Tales from the Collective Initiative as a birthday present.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
That is cool. So now is the time where Will and I really show you how little work we put into it.
That's where it goes off the rails, right?
Yeah, it's where it goes off the rails. We're going to talk about the campaigns that people have been on the show in the last couple weeks that are still alive. We're going to do it for you, Dora. And we're not going to, you know what? I already sang you a happy birthday, Ashley. I'm not doing that shit for you. And Danny, you neither. But you can hang with us. And if you know about the campaigns, talk about them. And if it's time for you to go bed and it's late or you got something else to do, you can hop off as well. We don't.
It is my dinner time, so I will say goodbye, everybody.
Right. Goodbye.
Back everything here, back the stuff that's still happening. Thank you so much for having me on.
It was a pleasure. Please
Good
let us
night.
know when you're doing anything. We'll get you on.
Oh, I'll be back.
All right.
Bye.
Danny,
Alright.
Dora, you hanging or you taking
I'm
off?
gonna
What?
stick around just because I don't know what you guys have, and maybe it's interesting.
Okay.
All right. Well, we've got two.
It's my dinner
Oh,
time as well. I'm on Pacific time too, so it's my dinner time. I hear my husband cooking out there. So
it was wonderful to meet you, and I
Very nice
cannot
to meet
wait to read the story.
thank
good
you
one.
so
Thanks
much.
again.
I really loved being on. It was awesome meeting you guys. Take care.
You're the best.
Thanks.
Good night. All right. So we have two Cthulhu anthologies still running. We have Russell Nolte's third volume of Cthulhu Invades. No, I got them
Voodoo is
confused.
hard to spell.
Hard to
Yeah.
spell. And this third volume has basically the elder gods against the mythical gods. The fate of the earth is, I don't know who. Somebody's going to win. I guess we're rooting for Zeus, right?
I don't
Because
know.
I mean, all he does is impregnate our friends and family. He doesn't eat us. So
Yeah.
What a jerk.
I mean,
And
that's it's not great, but it's not.
It's not consumed by an elder god kind of thing too. So yeah, it ends on April 7th. So
Okay.
it's still got a couple weeks left, I guess.
Really awesome, great, and amazing. I mean, it's got like 30 to 40 different teams, and I tried to say it. Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, which is the second volume of Travis Gibb's anthology, and he's got another great group of creators. And what I think is kind of neat about both of those volumes is there actually was a theme to each volume in the anthology. Travis's first one was Cthulhu Invades Oz. Now it's Wonderland, and I think the next one is going to be in the Peter Pan world. I think he told us last week.
Neverland, yeah.
Neverland. So
And he does his anthologies are different. They're not necessarily separate. They are separate stories, but there's an overall story a thread that goes through all of them. So it is one big story for that anthology. Whereas Cthulhu is Hard to Spell is a theme, not necessarily one, overarching narrative.
Right. And it's just kind of but Cthulhu is Hard to Spell. This is it. This is your chance. I don't think he's doing another one of those. So
yeah,
both of those are well worth it. Amazing teams. If I started
third
naming
one,
them,
right?
What's that?
That's his third one.
That's his third and last one. Yep.
Yep.
And then we had Broken Trident, which only has 2 hours. Whoa.
Oh wow.
Oh,
See,
gosh,
those guys.
22. Wait. 22 minutes. No,
Those
we got to
guys
get that up.
asked you. See, those guys asked you. They were like, "Oh man, I should end. When should I end this?"
Right after the show.
All right. So, guys, you got 22 minutes. So, if you're watching this later, you missed this one, but you can get it for issue 2. Broken Trident came from a D&D session where the writer Dave Steinborn came up with an undersea elf and played his campaign and just kind of fell in love with the character and decided to he loved the character so much that he destroyed his world and put the character on a revenge quest. So the whole story is new, but the character came from a D&D campaign, and Dave was just a real cool guy, and the art on it is incredible. And you have 22 minutes. So,
and if they're watching this later and they missed it, the collective just backed the retailer tier, so
Nice.
you can, potentially grab that because it looks interesting, and D&D books sell really well in the store.
Awesome.
Oh well, I mean, let me see if I can find the other D&D. Godslayers, episode 1, also came from basically a Dungeons and Dragons aficionado. I believe he runs his own campaigns. You know this one?
I was on. He was on the Travis's show with me on Wednesday Nathan.
Oh,
Gibb.
cool.
Yep.
Real nice guy. Nathan, he goes by Gage the
Gage the Wolf, I think.
Gage the Wolf. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I was done. He comes as Gage the Wolf.
There we go.
Super nice guy. Just his love for D&D and comics, and he found an artist that he just wanted to draw his original character, and then he got that back, and he went, I love how it looks. I want to make a comic, and just super excited. Real nice guy, and he had a dream and he's making it happen. So Godslayer is definitely worth checking out, and you have 7 days to get to that one. So a little more time on Godslayer.
And then the last one looks just one more, right?
I'm not sure. You're probably right.
Magic Powder #2.
Yes.
Which is a fantasy setting. Let's see, how did he describe it? It's
Fantasy crime.
Yeah, it's fantasy with crime.
It's The Wire. Yeah. Lord of the Rings meets The Wire, or something like that. Crime fantasy with crime within a fantasy world. And Jeff is just super good guy. I've been Twitter acquaintances for about 6 months to a year, and just nice guy, always doing the work. And the art on that campaign is just like, if you like fantasy, just check out the art, and you'll be like me. You're gonna back it because it's just a cool looking thing. And I've never gotten to The Wire. I need to. Too many people told me it's the best, so I'll
I'm in the same boat. Yeah, I it's on my list. I just haven't got around to it yet.
No, and I think that is it.
I think that's it.
I got a new book for the store thanks to you guys. Well, actually, 2.
Awesome. No, Danny, thank you.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, I don't say this to blow smoke. I don't say this disingenuously. When stores actually give us a chance, it is humbling and unbelievably appreciated. Because there are about 4 different audiences for sequential art, and there's the Kickstarter audience, and there's the retail audience, and then there's the Barnes and Noble. And I just appreciate you giving us a chance at the entire indie community to in one small part of Florida get our books in front of an audience that is very difficult to get in front of.
It's really nothing. Maybe for the next collective initiatives, like our first one on the inside page, we have our little like spiel. It's like the collective initiative is this and that. And I might change up for next one, because literally, like, as more and more people are thanking me, I'm like, thank you, because most people don't notice. I actually was working at another comic book store pre-pandemic. And it was a big change for me career-wise. I'd gone from working in a cubicle and a desk with benefits to being like, I want to do something I enjoy a little bit more. And I was really enjoying being like a comic salesman and manager of a store. And then the pandemic hit, and I was one of 1 employees at a small store with a hands-on owner. So he panicked, and he thought that there was Diamond shut down. He thought comics as we know it wasn't going to be the same again. He let me go. I was about to take a job at Aldi's, ringing people up and bagging things up because it was going to pay me about the same and everything. And then Brendan at the Collective had an opening, and he brings me in on a trial run, and here we are. But the whole reason we did it all was when he brought me on, Diamond was still shut down for like another 2 weeks, I think. And then by then, then the back pile happened. But I found out at that time that Scout Comics was still shipping their books because Scout was direct. And I said, oh my God, if I can find this kind of well that even if the world shuts down again, which we got close to, and you never know, but if the world shuts down again, that we can still have a couple of fresh stories, that whether we need to do pick up curbside or delivery or something like that, if I can still have new books, because Kickstarters are still going to happen. I'm sure Kickstarters were still happening during the shutdown. I mean, there was that month where everything was closed.
Okay, when you're done, I'll tell you about that. I'll fill you in on that side.
So all we really tried to do at first was just provide ourselves with this backup plan of these people are going to still create comics. Scout is still going to ship them out. Mad Cave is going to ship them out. The Kickstarter people that have them printed are going to ship them out. The Kickstarters we never backed before, and I know there's guys like you guys that have pile of books in a back room that your spouse is yelling at you about. You guys are dying to ship those out to us, and now we have that opportunity. And if the world ever shuts down again, we're just going to go to that network. Forget about waiting for Diamond. We're just going to go and hit up Kevin and Will and Travis and say, who do you got? And tell them all to send us invoices, because we're going to take all of their books.
Now that's, I hope it doesn't shut down again. I hope that I would be very happy to live in a world where I can send you fewer books and we don't all have to shut down. Exactly. But if it does, I will happily do my part. So Will, you can kind of jump in with your point of view. I had a campaign that was coming, and then this all happened. And then I started hearing that like the Postal Service literally might not survive this. And I was like, holy shit, what are we going to do? And I thought, well, I have a book that's almost done. And it looks like Kickstarters are doing okay in that timing. Well, what I didn't realize was Kickstarters did amazing during the pandemic because readers wanted stories, and here was a way to keep stories coming. So for those 3 months where it was a little touch and go about Diamond and stores were some of the best Kickstarter times. And so we almost, I don't want to say profited off of it because we all had our own personal issues one way or the other with it, which, my story is a lot nicer than most people's story. I've been very lucky, but the Kickstarter worked, and I was like, I can actually give money to the post office so that, look, the $1,200, $2,000 I paid in postage is not going to change whether the U.S. Post Office is around or not, but 1,000 of me is doing it might.
Yeah. For me, it was kind of an eye opener because Crossover Division started out as I'm doing this 8-page story, and that's going to be the pitch package. I've got a cover, I've got my 8 pages, and I'm going to send it out to publishers who all shut down during the pandemic. And honestly, I was like, if Diamond can just shut down the U.S. comics industry because they're not shipping and publishers can't do anything about it. I mean, granted, there are good things that publishers can do for me, but why at this point do I need a publisher? And I thought, no, let's just go with Kickstarter. So the shutdown, was like March, April. We're finishing up that story, and then Pablo went to work finishing the art for the first issue, which was a 26-page plus the 8 pages. And we funded at the end of 2020, and that was, as much as I want to be in comic stores, through Diamond and all that, me getting to make these and put them out and getting them done, is kind of, the pandemic showed me that it was more important for me to get it done than to wait for somebody else to let me do it, basically. Yeah. So it was, and I've been very, like Kevin, I've been extraordinarily lucky during the pandemic, being able to work from home and for the most part, and, nobody getting, horribly sick, but not a lot of people, everybody's not been that lucky for sure.
Yeah. And there've been publishers. I mean, I didn't want to bring it up, but Action Lab had a lot of issues this past year, and some
really,
some of them may have been pre-existing. And
I missed that. What happened?
I honestly would love to pick Ashley's brain, because when I realized she did Jupiter Jet, I'm like, that's one of the more successful older Action Lab books that isn't, Zombie Tramp, and I was intrigued with her experience, but I know Jared LaJuan. I don't know if you guys know him from his Mad Cave work, and then he had the big Action Lab thing on social media.
Oh yeah.
And I'm still kind of waiting for Crash and Troy, because he's a friend of the store. He's somebody we backed his Kickstarters. So when one of those guys like Kevin, when his next diamond thing comes out, you know, that's something where we can easily order tons of because just the price point and everything. So we were ready to have, you know, 20 to 30 copies of his book, thinking about getting him out from San Antonio. And, you know, that whole thing happens. And now he says he's talking to other people. And, you know, that put a 1 to 2 year, you know, stop or pause to his whole publishing plan for a book that's completed, which I can imagine is stressful for a creator. So, like,
frustrating. I mean, I could see him just go, you know.
I'm not going to bring up a name. Will and I have a mutual friend that has a book at Action Lab, and it's like Jared, it's been pretty crushing. And I met the people who ran Action Lab at a New York Comic Con before I knew anybody at Scout, and I did happen to pitch Tart, and all I can say is I'm very lucky that they did not pick us up, or I could be in the same situation because you're darn tootin' unless there was something in the contract, and I'm not very smart, so I probably wouldn't have picked it up. I just there, but by the grace of God and by them not thinking that, I think that Tart is that weird middle ground where Action Lab either would want us to be way more adult or way less adult. So our hard PG-13 soft R rating might have really helped us not get picked up by Action Lab. And look, man, I don't know the ins and outs. I know the creators that were affected by it all seem like really good people, and I really am very sorry that it happened to them. And I don't always know whether it's incompetence or malice or some combination of when these things happen. So I try not to talk about it because I literally am not smart enough to parse those things, but I feel for any creator who
is stuck.
Yeah, and it goes back to what Will said in the sense of, like, you know, just be careful. You know, I mean, there is an avenue to publish it yourself, you know, and it might not always lead to the high dollars right away.
Right.
But like I've watched other than Action Lab and there's other publishers, but I've watched people, because there's contracts. I mean, this is a world of contracts, and I've watched people give their hard earned and hard worked creative thing to a company that, you know, I'm sure still appreciated it, but whether it be for one reason or another, paper shortages, just not having the capital, you know, because capital is a big thing, kind of, I don't want to say ruining their book, but making it difficult. So let's just make it difficult, you know?
Well, and this isn't, unfortunately, this isn't new. I just think back to Eclipse Comics.
Yep.
You know, like there's this, Neil Gaiman talks about when he took over Miracle Man, they would get angry letters from the publishers saying, you guys owe us the next issue. And he'd say, it's done. I can't remember who was drawing at this time.
Mark Buckingham, maybe? Or
it was Gaiman's artist. I think Buckingham was with Alan Moore, but I could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure.
Both of those guys are weird.
The artist had all 24 pages of art finished in the safe. And they were like, you need to send it. Your contract says you need to send it. And they said, it's done. You send us the payment for issue 21, and you'll get issue 22. So they had the issue done, but Eclipse, you know, with, again, malice, greed, incompetence, biting off more than they can chew. Who knows which it is in any of these things. And there's always some combination of many things.
I was just gonna say, a lot of times it's a combination, because right now so many companies are getting into publishing, you know what I'm saying? Like I just heard recently a company was bought out by another entertainment company, and it's just like, when you start getting, because, you know, people talk smack about DC and Marvel because they're such big companies now, being owned by Warner and AT&T and Disney, but at least they're like a publishing arm that has been publishing comics for a long time. I do get worried when I hear, you know, oh, this video game developer is buying this comic company or this, because it's like, okay, you know how to do video games, but that is a different animal than comics. Or when I hear this book publisher that they're going from novels to comics, those are very different things. Even prose to comics are different things. So it's just, it's never the same space as much as people think it's the same space. So I just, it's murky waters. But I don't envy you guys having done 2 Kickstarters, just 2, and I haven't had to create anything really. I don't envy any of you guys because it's not easy, man. It's not easy.
Well, I've Kickstarter will sometimes send out surveys. I think you've done a couple, Kevin. I think I've done maybe one. I said, let me duplicate an entire project so that I can, because I'm serializing, okay? And I'll change the stuff, but don't make me hammer in all of the stupid rewards again from scratch. Don't make me hammer in all of the items again from scratch. Please, because that takes hours that I could be doing something else.
I could be advertising the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm guessing. That's like 80 to 90% of what you guys do when the campaign, once you hit the button to then the end, is promote. You really aren't trying to, because most of you guys go to Kickstarter with an almost completed book. So it's not like writing a script or anything but the promotion is so important, dude. And I had that conversation with Travis the other day. It's like, there's also things hindering you from promotion because Facebook won't let you be seen by as many people unless you do a paid ad. It's not.
There is nothing more deflating than, closing on a Thursday night and Friday at noon, somebody emailing you, hey, I wanted to get that thing. What should I do?
Yeah.
And it's coming from a good place. And it's just like,
I've been shouting.
How did it? Because it's on you. It is on you for not getting somebody who wanted to support you. It's not on them for missing it. But then
it
makes you wonder, because you've been everywhere. I mean, we're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and I know it's different. Your posts should be different on all of them, because Facebook works different than Instagram, works different than Twitter. But it's and it's daunting, man. And again, I know all of you guys have day jobs, and we're trying to do it while balancing the store, and it's it is tough, man. That's why Travis Gibb, I call him the champion of it all, man, because how he does it, and I know that he has the job. Plus, I know he has his 3-year-old son and everything. It is not easy, man.
Well, I've met that son. That kid is the best behaved little baby. At 6 weeks old, he didn't cry.
To the store for signings, and it's great because obviously he's in a comic store and toys and everything. So first 10-20 minutes, he's excited, he's hyped,
right?
And then after that, he's literally on his iPad and he's ready to go. And then he naps in the middle of signings. I walk back there to ask Travis if he's doing good. I just see the baby napping. I'm like, oh, all right, that's good. I joked with Travis that we should redo the Nirvana cover with Remy. And then when he brings Remy to the store, we can get a little pad of ink for his hand and have him sign the book, man. Isn't that perfect? You get Travis and his son's signature on there. Cover artist and writer, right?
So when I stopped into the collective, Danny was like, hey, do you want to sign some books? I was like, well, I mean, oh, sure. So he brought out a table. My daughter was with me, so my daughter sat down, and one guy came through and got some books, and he asked if I'd sign it, and I said, sure. And he asked my daughter, do you want to sign it? And she looked at me like, yeah. I was like, if he's buying the book, he can ask anybody in the world to sign it. So she signed one of my comics. I was like, he bought the book, man. He can do whatever he wants. You sign it, I'll sign it twice.
It's amazing how a lot of people are doing it to support. I do the thing where I give them an extra stamp if they're buying anything from a creator in the store. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's $1. But I'm like, thank you for supporting them, and I toss them an extra. But I find out more times than not, and people are reading the books, but they just want to support. The fact that they see a guy that we don't really bring in Scott Snyder or Joshua Williamson or James Tinian to sign. We're not.
You should do that. They sell a lot of books.
It'd probably work. But we don't have those connections just yet.
Right.
So I think when people see, a Travis Gibb, a Jonathan Hedrick, a David Byrne, they're like, oh, this is awesome. Can you just sign it? And I've been to a lot of conventions. If at our store, it becomes more than just, hey, can you sign it? I want to send it to CGC, or can you sign it? I'm going to put it in the back of my box. It's can you sign it and like personal, like write to, like we had a HS Tack from Redshift from
okay.
Scout, and he was literally like, people were asking for personalization. He's like, thank you Voyager, or like, thank you Space Kid, like, and he's literally like thinking this out, and it's like, I love that because it personalizes the book, and then it gives them a memory, like rather than just like, oh, I bought this book once and it was good. I mean, yes, you want that reaction, but like,
but also an experience.
I met the writer of this and he was so nice. Like that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the marketing stuff. Another thing that I wish Kickstarter would do is, if you have your project image, let you start marketing with the launch, the pre-launch page, without getting pre-approved, or maybe just pre-approving that or something, because having to get enough of the page done to get it approved so that then you can have the pre-launch page, so then you can do all your pre-launch marketing. I mean, I took a chance for this one actually, and I didn't have any of my reward tiers, but I said, insert image here. I put little brackets, everywhere I was going to put images, and I did all my rewards and did all my items and everything. Well, and I actually didn't even do 3 reward tiers. I still need to go back and finish, but I went ahead and submitted it. It took them 5 days, the whole 5 days, but they went ahead and said, you're good to go. So I've got a pre-launch page that I can now start directing BackerKit launch to and everything else. So, there are things that they can do.
Whoa. Broken Trident has successfully been funded.
Yay!
I saw that. Yes.
Congrats.
Congratulations, David.
And thank you guys for showing us that, because that looks like it'll do really well in the story, and I would have missed it.
Awesome.
All right, that's awesome. Now go ahead. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah. I don't even know what I was talking about.
The pre-launch page. Yeah.
Kickstarter. I really feel like they are awesome. I wouldn't be publishing comics without Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But there are things that they can do that will help us creators streamline the process, so that we can not necessarily waste less time. It's just better use the time that we have to do more projects. I mean, I feel like add-ons were something that they thought that they needed to do, but I mean, Kevin, you and I and Danny, you've seen it. Look at the report that you get from your add-ons. It's an Excel CSV spreadsheet. I mean, it's not exactly reader friendly to us, creators. Wait, I gotta add what?
I don't even do add-ons in Kickstarter. I just do BackerKit because I'm too afraid of missing it and then having to remail my mistake, losing my whole profit over the add-on.
So we do a lot of add-ons simply because, and it's worked for us. I actually get excited to do these because we have so many store exclusives and stuff like that. So most of our add-ons, other than being able to add the previous volume, which honestly I didn't think about it. Well, actually, no, we do have a tier that's just 1 and 2. It's your catch-up tier.
A catch-up, yeah, great.
But yeah, we have the add-ons because we have so many covers, and I can't imagine with you guys, because like, first of all, I'm unorganized at the store, so I only recently finally put all of our exclusive covers into 2 or 3 boxes that are side by side. Previously, they were in opposite, hemispheres of the store and in the warehouse. So at least I'm there now. But like, yeah, I can only imagine if like a guy like Travis Gibb, who has so many different books. You've got Broke Down and Four Dead Bodies and Expired,
Voodoo Nations,
and you have
Granite State Punk, the best thing he's ever done.
Granite State Punk, Holiday Spirits with Jerome. I can't imagine having to fulfill that, because just us doing those covers, the fulfillment gets interesting, because we do the I Am the Collective Ultimate Edition, which is just you get every cover we've ever published, and that's a really nice tier to A, move stock, and B, get somebody into everything we've done. But it's like, oh my God, especially when I was fulfilling for issue 1, I have to go pull a shit show from here, and is over there, and it's just like, it's a lot, man. It really is. It makes it more like a storefront. We run a Shopify as well, And that's what I experience in Shopify, because somebody will
Mhm.
order this and somebody will order that, and I have to run around.
Yeah.
But like we're lucky that does really well for us. Actually, it gets the boss off my back a little bit, because he's like, "Why do we still got all these exclusive covers?" I said, "They're gonna do really well on the Kickstarter."
Yeah. And that's my catch up tier. Ever since the second campaign, you got the trade paperback in issue 4. Then all of a sudden, trade paperback issue 4 and 5. I mean, my catch up tiers now are, I think, $90 for all 14 issues, which is what you would have paid if you did every one, plus you would have paid shipping every time. So actually, you're only paying shipping once, and that you're doing better than the people who've been with us the whole time. Although there's some things they get, but it's an amazing, like, it gets really philosophical to me that I have all of these books for you to catch up with now, to make this book so that the next person can catch up. But it's all because of the people who are with us
From the beginning.
From the beginning. And it's this weird, like, I get really philosophical about the catch up tier, where it's like, it's not Ludo and I that made the catch up tier possible. It's the backers who backed the first campaign, and then the second campaign. And now that you're spending $90 when you could get the new book for 10, now I'm able to print like 20 issues of the new one for the next group. And it's this virtuous cycle of just good feelings for me.
Let me ask you guys, and especially since you just mentioned your catch up tier. You mentioned that you kind of like, you put that tier, but then you want to have the one more expensive tier just so it doesn't look like it's your most expensive tier. And we've kind of done that as well. But it still blows my mind. We're offering one book on this Kickstarter. You can get it for as cheap as 10. You can go as expensive as 25. And then it blows my mind when I go and look at a pledge. Oh, I got a new pledge, which you're always excited about. And you go down and see what they backed. And then you see like $160 or $180. And you're like, oh my God, this person did my top tier plus added some stuff. Like, you're kind of really humbled in a way. And like, I'm not even the creator in a sense, but it's like, you're willing to spend that much. Like, I was questioning whether it was worth the 10 or 25, and you're now dropping 200. Thank you. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah. And it's so important when, if you're a creator watching this late, thank you. It's so important to make sure that you give people many safe harbors for wherever they are.
Yeah.
There are people that are really, really thankful that you have a $2 digital thing, because they want to read the book and they want to support it, and they can do $2 right now. And that's great.
That's
$2
awesome.
digital. $2 digital is $1.80 that I can use to print a book for someone to buy for $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10. And you read the book, and that's awesome. And then there are people that are ready for the book that'll pay $10 plus the shipping. And then there are people who want the virgin variant on a metal cover that's $50. And then there's people that want artwork with it. And you know what? Ludo is a trained painter. His artwork is not cheap. I have to pay him for his paintings, and I have to pay Kickstarter 10%, and it has to help the campaign if I'm offering it. It can't just be what he charges. It'd be $400, $500 for a painting. And yeah, some people are in a place where $400 or $500 it's a good value because it's Ludo artwork, but it's more than I could spend on original art. But I'm not them. They're in a different place. And it's just, have these islands for people where they are, can support you where they want to. And it is humbling, but it's also like, the nature of the beast is we're all coming at this in our own circumstances. And I don't want anyone to feel like a $2 digital doesn't, the dollar, when someone just puts $1 in there,
every little bit helps.
Yeah, getting each pledge helps because of the analytics. I mean, we have a stretch goal that's based on backers. So like, you can all back at $1, you can still help us get
to that one.
that goal.
Right.
And I tell people, because since we run a storefront, we have the people all the time. Hey, can I just get it in store? And my answer naturally is yes. But my follow up then is, because we want the analytics.
Mm-hmm.
My follow up is, well, if you back it on the Kickstarter, like I can, and heck, I have the books in the store. I can literally fulfill in front of you. Like you can back the cover on Kickstarter. I will go grab it for you. I will hand it to you. I'll put a note in Kickstarter to remind me to not ship the second one.
Right.
And what I explained to him, I said, you're still going to get all the digital as soon as we end. I'm like, I can't do that right now, but you're going to get all the digital when it ends. I said, we're off printing stickers and magnets right now. You will get a sticker and magnet. Like, you don't get that if you buy it in store a month.
Right.
That is, and typically that's Kickstarter exclusive in every sense. We might do coasters as well and all these little swag things. And I actually get excited. I get the most excited to do those little swag things because, first of all, as a store, I over order the shit out of them. And then I can use them on like eBay transact. Like I can use them, the stickers. I literally slap on like my T-mailers and stuff like that. So it looks like a skateboard deck,
Nice.
like I get excited to do that. And I tell people, I'm like, even if you back, at the $5, like ours is $5. Let me read it. It's like you're then going to get all the digital add-ons that you get to read. So it's like you're getting more than one book, and it's like I get excited about that. And it helps. We have a ton of $5 digital backers right now, and we're still fully funded. It hasn't hurt us, and those people are going to know about the store and all of these books.
Yeah. Shawnee wrote that she agrees on the price tiers. As a backer, my budget can really change from time to time. So having a tier that fits what I can afford at that time is amazing. And often that keeps me coming back for more.
And we appreciate it. Thanks, Shawnee.
One of the most amazing things that I started seeing, like from people who had backed a couple times, is the other thing is we have to bring the book out when we're bringing the book out, and we could be bringing the book out at the worst time for someone.
Yeah.
I've had people email me an apology that they can't back because of whatever their, individual circumstance was at that time. And I was like, you never have to apologize for not backing this time or ever again. If you've supported us in any way, we're still doing this because of your support and the support of people. Like, yes, if you can, if it's your place and you can back, please back. If it's not right now and you have the bandwidth in your emotional state to share, please share. But you know what? If you don't have the bandwidth right now because stuff is happening that's more important, you take care of what you got to take care of, because the backers we have right now are helping me print enough. I'm going to have the book ready. Hopefully your circumstance gets better. I'll get it to you then. There's no Kickstarter is fear of missing out, but also help us make enough so that, besides a little bit of that exclusive swag, you're not going to miss out. We'll be here.
I find that so funny that almost every Kickstarter creator I've ever met is like that. Because the first time I was really turned off by Kickstarter, other than the guy who was banned from Kickstarter, but the first time I was really turned off by Kickstarter was Black Mask Publishing has a comic book called, I think it was originally called Black, and then they had a sequel to it called White. And I didn't know that these books originated on Kickstarter because, again, I'm new to all that. But the book was highly speculated on at first. So then the sequel comic comes out called White, highly speculated on, lots of pre-orders at a Diamond Previews, which is supposed to be a good thing for a publisher. And then we found out that they're only printing 1,500 of the comic, even though they're going through Diamond, which was really odd. I mean, it meant every comic store only got like two per store was like the limit, even though we took pre-orders for ages. And then I was very unhappy with it. So I went to the forums that we have, and I went to the publishers at Black Mask, and I said, what gives? Was this, why print so little? Did you guys print before FOC? What happened? And their response, and I think it was a little bit, shame on them. They were trying to throw the blame on the creators a little bit. But they were like, the contract that we signed with them when we got the deal to publish the sequel was that we would only print this many, because we convinced them to go away from Kickstarter. So from what I understood, the creators wanted to take that book to Kickstarter and only print 1,500, make it really collectible. Black Mask wanted it to be first to market to them. So I guess they caved to their request of printing so little. But like, I found it so weird. Yes, their book is now worth $40 or $50 on the secondary market, but only 1,000, like, only a limited amount of people have their book. So I find it so weird when I hear every other Kickstarter creator say, I'm printing enough that like I have some for after to add as like, it blew my mind that somebody.
So Will has heard me say this. It always comes back to Neil Gaiman with me. That is sorry. It's always going to come back to Neil Gaiman with me. Nobody in this world is perfect, but he's said some pretty smart things. He said he was at a comic shop and someone pointed out to all of the trade paperback volumes of Sandman, and they went, "Man, DC really screwed you over." And Neil was like, "Well, what do you mean?" They go, "They printed all those trade paperbacks. If they hadn't done that, first Sandman would be worth $5,000." And Neil went, "How is that good for anyone?"
Yeah.
I mean, he has houses bought by the 50th printing of Preludes and Nocturne. Why would he want a $5,000 copy of Sandman #1 that I would have never read?
Yep.
That most people wouldn't have read.
Most people wouldn't have read, because I wasn't ready for Sandman when it came out. I was reading comics when Black Canary came out, the first thing he did. And the covers they used for Sandman was wonderful, because it told 12-year-old me, who still wanted superheroes to punch each other in the face, and still do like it a lot, but also it said, "You're not ready for this, you'll come later." But if they had never done that, I'd never get to it. And I just don't like, make prestige things that are worth a lot of money, sure, but make it readable. Make it.
The thing is, that's what especially nowadays in the climate of 2020, 2022, that's what a variant cover is for. You want something limited, you do a 1 in 25. That's super cool. Scout has done it occasionally. Like, that's doable. Do a secret cover, one per store. There's options. I was really taken aback, and especially to hear that it went back. And again, shame on the publisher for trying to throw the creator under the bus. As a manager of a store, it's like, you don't do that with your employees. You take the blame. At least I made a bad deal. I should have. But it blew my mind that somebody would have thought, "Oh, we're going to go to Kickstarter, but we're going to limit it." And it made me wonder.
Do you remember what the cover price was for the 2 issues that you got?
They were $3.99 cover price books. Like Diamond, they didn't change. They didn't change any. So us as a retailer, our 2 pre-orders, we absolutely fulfilled. What we did was we looked at who had the earliest additions to sub, and the 2 earliest got them at cover price. So we didn't profit off of the book being $50 on the aftermarket either, which is like the weirdest part about it, because technically nobody involved with the book, unless those guys are selling their comps or whatever, nobody involved with the book made any extra profit. It's 100% the aftermarket, which was really weird to me.
Yeah, and with Diamond, you want to go as many copies as.
If you get pre-orders for 20,000 copies, I mean, you print 20,000 copies.
Exactly. And that means your price per issue goes way down and your profit per issue goes up.
So I think, and granted, that might have been, it was on the heels of like Bad Idea Publishing doing all their, gimmicky things. So that could have been, on the heels of, if we get on Key Collector, it's going to be the biggest thing for us. But it's like, as a guy who runs the store 365 days a year, that it doesn't matter what Key Collector necessarily does. It matters the people that want to keep coming back,
Right. Exactly.
Even with the 2 copies per store I got. So yes, for the first.
But you sold out.
I sold out. Oh yeah. But it was, I had 7 unhappy people or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. But what was interesting to me was, and then for issue 2, I had like 5 unhappy people, because they still had, they didn't fully understand that it was going to be 2 per store the whole time, like for the whole run. But by issue 4, I only had like one unhappy person. So it went to show you that like they did it to themselves, because like I'd like to think at least these 10 people would have kept with it after that.
Mhm.
And then as a publisher, we occasionally have a little bit of power in the sense of our buying power. So like Black Mask gets minimal orders right now, until they prove a little bit, kind of make us happy again. And there's plenty of amazing publishers to support in the meantime.
And that sucks for like a creator like Ryan K. Lindsay, who's I know has done some Black Mask stuff.
Well, you want to hear what's actually really funny about it all? I was taking that stance just because I'm a little petty, and again that sucked. And then I met Pat Shand, right? Who's
That's
also
awesome.
from Destiny NY, and I'm like, all right, man, I got to reverse on this at least a little bit because I got to support Pat because Pat's been awesome. So it does suck because again, there's great creators working here, and I know Pat isn't telling them to not print as many copies as they can of the book. So
what I need you to do. What I need you to do is sell as few of these as possible. I want you to pay as much per book as possible to print them. And I do want you to keep the price down to negligible. I mean, this had to have been, like sometimes you have a great idea that doesn't end up great. There had to be a thought process that just it was just a mistake.
Somebody thought it was genius, and that was the fault in it all. But like it goes to show, and same thing, that lesson can be used on Kickstarter or any business really you do. Just like treat your customers well and with respect, and I mean they're gonna come back, and again, like if they can't afford it that time, they will remember you next time, as long as you didn't do them dirty like that. So
Shawnee says she imagines the whole thing had Pat shaking his head in confusion also.
Pat is a smart cookie. He really is.
There had to be a thought behind this that we are all missing, but I do think that in the end it was a mistake, and I hope they learn from it in their next campaign the next time. And I'm talking about the creators, not necessarily Black Mask. I really hope Black Mask doesn't do that again.
So Black Mask, and prior to that, we supported Black Mask pretty well because Black Mask is one of the few publishers that offer returnability on all of their books, not just issue 1, but issue 6, 7. Like they'll offer returnability, which is rare and awesome when you want to support that. So it's such a weird alternative because when you're offering returnability on all your books, that means you're printing really high. So it was such an odd like switch around, like to be like, hey, but this one book, and I'm sure they might have offered returnability on those 2 copies. I don't know. I never got to look. But it was such a weird pivot to be like, hey, we're printing a ton, like order high, and then be on this book, like you can get 2. You can get 2.
It just seems like putting the cart before the horse for creators to even consider the secondary market, or publishers to even consider the secondary market, because that's not their market.
Right? You don't make any. I mean, unless you're gonna overprint, or like out of the 1,500, you're keeping 500. Like it doesn't benefit you as the creator for it to be worth a ton on the secondary market.
You don't have it,
right?
Unless it's a phenomenal. The only reason it's really good for it to be worth on the secondary market is because if it's on the secondary, like Jonathan Hedrick's Recount #1. That became really expensive on the secondary market because the story was phenomenal. Like people literally picked up that first issue and were eating it up. That then means that it has a chance to get optioned and made into a movie. The book that only 1,000 people read has a little less chance to get made into a movie.
Shawnee wrote, someone got their meds mixed up when they made that decision.
It was like, it's one of those things. Typically a publisher does something dumb and you talk about it for a day and then you're off the next day, onto something different. But that one was one that literally had you scratching your head for long enough that I'm still talking about it after this.
That's the first I've heard of it. I'm pretty sure I backed the Black campaign on Kickstarter. I think I have it in there. I don't remember them not delivering, so I think they delivered. But they're unfortunately, I do back more than I read because I get excited for creators, and I, I still have Crossover Division 2 sitting on the top of my to read pile, and I haven't. I read it.
Well, send him that PDF. He can't ignore the PDF, man. Just send him.
I'm gonna spam him with the PDF as soon as this is over. So
I read the first 8 pages when you got them, but yeah, and it's because like Will, I love him. He's one of my best friends, and it's like I'll get there, but
there's so much to do. I mean, we've with the day job, and then with project it's so it would be so amazing to say, look, I've written the script, I've got with the editor, it's done. My part is done, and now I can let all these great people go make me look good because they're awesome artists, and But no, now I'm like, okay, I've got to check in here, I've got to check in here. Okay, now I've got to work on this Kickstarter for the next one. Plus, I'm promoting the Kickstarter for this one if we're mostly done, and it's,
and then you're dumb enough to write a crossover with another independent creator to do some point this year.
All right, what was the Shawnee said? I got my meds mixed up that day.
Late this year, Danny, there will be a Tart Crossover Division crossover.
Yep.
So script is all written. Script is all written.
I'll admit, I hadn't read. Gosh, what was the last Tart that came through Scout? Was it Demons?
Demons and Demagogues, yes.
Demons and Demagogues. So I didn't get a chance to read that because actually I had texted you actually. I sold out of that surprisingly quicker than I expected, especially since I didn't have Kevin set up for a signing. Because when I have a signing, I can expect to go through a lot.
Right.
So I sold out of it so fast I didn't have a copy to read because I'm not gonna hold anything back for day Wednesday, and it's like if I didn't read it Tuesday night, like I got, I'm not gonna keep a copy back. Like my boss does a really better job of reading Tuesday night. I'm more of I'm off Thursday, or I get off Thursday night, and I'm off Friday, Saturday, so I'll bring some books home. But if they sell out before that, I can't read it.
Danny, I hope you never read another book of mine for the rest of my life or yours.
Right? If that's the circumstance, no. But I'll order enough Tart Volume 2 that I'll get a chance to get caught up on everything.
And we Charlie and I tried to figure out the best way to this is now we're inside baseball, people. So if you've been with us this long, I really appreciate it. So Tart season 1 came out, and the nonstop from Scout. It was going to be issue 1 and then the trade paperback with 7 issues, and issue 1 came out in February. The world ended in March. And I believe it was either March or April, people were supposed to order the trade paperback for season 1. We did as well as anyone could ask to in pre-orders for a trade paperback in the middle of the world ending. I don't begrudge a single store that said, I can't, purchase this now, but we did okay. We did okay. We didn't turn the world on fire, but we held our own. Which now that trade paperback is sold out. Which I'm like, oh man, I wanted it. So that now somebody sees volume 2 and gets excited because they didn't get it, but I can't fault Scout either, because you can only print so many on the pre-orders. You can't. They can't go bankrupt. Scout can't go bankrupt for Tart.
So it's so funny that you say that, because now my wheels are turning, because first of all, same things happened with Trey Walker's Last Stop. They were nonstop. I actually want to say their issue came out in December, and their trade paperback was supposed to come out April, end of March. And obviously that did not happen. But again, their book got optioned. There was a lot of things, but they only printed so many. And here we are 2 years later, they're out of the trade paperback with no immediate plans. When I say immediate, I mean like in the next 3 months, whatever. No immediate plans to reprint. And that stinks, because he's a local creator, and I love to have his stuff on the wall on there. And if there's free comic book day, I love to invite Trey and have him sign. And I literally said, like, damn it, what's it going to cost me to do a store? And it's tougher with trades a little bit. But I'm like, damn it, what's it going to cost me to do a store exclusive just to get this thing back in print? Because Scout typically is really awesome about, like, you can go back and reprint whatever. I could go print Tart #1 as a store exclusive. They would 100% let me do it.
Right.
Now I need to find out what the logistics are of that with trades, because
Of
now
course.
I'm finding out Tart Volume 1 is out of print, finding out Lost Stop Volume 1 is out of print. I'm like, I need to single-handedly get these Volume 1s back in print because
Shit.
Kevin, I mean, the fact that he brings it up as he has a Volume 2 coming up, I'm not going to say it's a problem, but it's like, it's not ideal.
It's not ideal. It's not ideal. And, hopefully this won't happen again, but I can tell you long term, the Tart trade paperback has a target motif, a bullseye behind Tart. And every trade paperback from Scout until we end the series will have a bullseye of a different color with a different character. So by the time we end, it'll be 5, 6, 7 volumes, depending on how long we go. You'll be able to have them up next to each other in a way that will draw eyes. I friggin' promise. I'm so excited for the motif to be filled in, but we can't do it just yet.
So if they were going to reprint Volume 1 in what they would call the second edition, because I guess that's what we do in comics.
So.
Would you change the color of the target? Would you change the color of her hat? How would you do it if you had the choice?
I would probably just change the trade dressing so that the names were in a slightly different place and just have second printing inside. Because we've decided to make Volume 2 a different color bullseye, I'd like to keep red for 1, blue.
Okay.
The yellow is going to be 2, and then Ludo chooses the color based on his own. I don't get in Ludo's way with how he designs that because he's so smart about color anyway. But I think at one point I thought maybe playing with colors, but since we're going that way, I think we'd stay red. I can say that through colossal mismanagement of Kevin Joseph, I can only take credit for me. Issue 6 of Tart was illustrated by Carl Moline. He drew issue 6.
Local to us.
Local and unbelievable. We're so lucky that when Ludo couldn't draw, we got somebody of his talent, personality, passion. Like, I can't say enough good things about Carl. Well, I did try to make sure that his name was on the front of the book, but I did miss that his name is not on the cover. I also missed that his name isn't on the credit page. So I'm nobody. Ludo is an amazingly talented person without a name. I'm not going to say he's nobody, but I'm going to say he's an amazingly talented person who's done Tart. I'm nobody. Carl Moline co-created Frey with Joss Whedon. And I forgot to get his name on the book.
And he's working with Andy Serkis right now, or was working with Andy Serkis.
So I will certainly on the next edition make sure that Carl Moline's name is on the cover.
You don't want to do the Carl Moline exclusive variant that just all it says on the cover is
Carl Moline.
work by Carl Moline.
It's just his name autographed 100 times. I'd do it. I'd do it if he'd do it.
Come on, man, that would sell like hotcakes. Only print 100 or 1,500 though.
That's right. That's all. No matter what, no matter how many printers we got, we're gonna keep that print run low and expensive.
Yeah.
We've got to keep our profit margins as tight as we can.
That's right.
Oh man, that is.
Just secretly hold on to 50 for the aftermarket.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is not. That's. I don't think that's how you do it, but that's how they did it. And you know what?
Yeah.
Ignacio, I'm glad you're here for the inside baseball
We
stuff. I
forgot
appreciate
to
it.
credit. It was so thankfully when we did Tales from the Collective Volume 1, we did a launch day version, like because we did the same thing where we had an event in the middle of our campaign. So Travis went ahead and got 100 copies printed that said launch day with no price on them, and they were only 100 of those that were going to be printed. And we realized when we're at the signing that David Galliano's story did not credit his artist. Or his editor, which was Chuck Panos. So we obviously had time to correct that before we went to print with the major portion of our run. But that was a big, it's like those are important people to that story, and you didn't credit that.
Yeah, the artist and the editor. The two of those pretty
Like the
important.
writer, good job. The rest of it, all that guy
Yeah.
would have had is a script.
Well,
Johnny-
not to point fingers, but shouldn't the editor have caught that? I'm just saying.
The editor should have known that he wasn't
Me-
credited.
I'm gonna
Yes.
I'm gonna guess we maybe didn't send it to we didn't send it to the editor.
Shawnee said she forgot that Carl's name got left off. That's funny now, probably not so much at the time. I sent him an email so apologetic when I realized, and he was just like, well, I really appreciate that you told me. I probably wouldn't have noticed, but it was nice of you. It was nice of you to tell me. I probably wouldn't have noticed. I mean,
Nice of you
Carl's
to
just a
think of him,
sweetheart.
right?
Yeah. Carl
But
is
you
just
still feel
a
bad.
nice
You still
guy.
feel bad about it because it was. Yeah, I get it.
I
man.
feel bad about it on a personal level because he's a nice person, but I feel terrible about it on a marketing level because Carl Moline is a superstar artist that Kevin Joseph should not be working with. I want his name on the book that he drew. I want his name on books he didn't draw.
Yeah. Put his name on all the books.
That's what you know what, to make up for it, maybe I should put it on the second season where he didn't draw it.
Do it. Maybe we could have him do the cover for the collective exclusive just to get it back in print,
There you go.
All right, so we're about to end this broadcast, and it's pretty late, so I won't be able to stay too long and talk. But I would love to see Carl draw me some more Lemon Lamore because boy, he draws her so gorgeous.
The more you talk about all these people, it's like we got to do a day where we just bring Scout HQ to Orlando and just like try to bring as many Scout creators as we can get, because I mean there's you, there's Kevin, there's Jonathan Hedrick, there's David Byrne.
Jonathan,
I mean,
yeah.
we have so many. Richard Rivera.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
super nice
so
guy.
many people here.
I would be ecstatic to share a room with all those people. So it's awesome. Well, Danny, thank you for hanging with us. It's 1:32 and I'm fading. I want to get out of here before I fade completely. But Ignacio, Shawnee,
Gerald,
everybody who was here commented, thank you. You guys really, honestly, always make it the best. Jolly Puruvate. I hope Ed. It was an awesome night with awesome comments, and Dora and Ashley were awesome too. So,
and Blake.
Oh,
Hey, Blake. Yeah.
Oh, he came in. Oh, Blake
Yeah.
was here at the very beginning. Okay, all right. And one new, yeah. Ignacio, thank you. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Good night, y'all.
Night. Thanks, everyone.